Out of every single episode throughout a 12-month period that I record, this by far is top three, if not one or two, because it's the AFC preview show. We are missing our Jets guy, Danny. He's has some like little tooth problems, so he's not available. But it's a tweet by Ben Solak that I saw a few weeks ago, Big Rat, that I have been waiting for you because it also involves Greg, but it involves your favorite stat. Did you know that right now that the two best 5-year runs for a team without a Super Bowl appearance in NFL history by DVOA is currently going on? One is the Baltimore Ravens. The other is the Buffalo Bills. So that's just something I've been waiting to get off my chest to you because, look, it involves Greg's Bills. And you know, we love our DVOA and EPA per play here, especially when you're on the show.
Yeah, it's I like cool. Like awesome. That's great. Super excited that we're the best team or second best team. I've actually seen another version of that where depending on which 5-year window you do, because it's been going for 6 years, that one of them we were first and one of them Baltimore was first for the same thing. Both of us just keep banging our head against the Mahomes ceiling. So cool. That's great. Super awesome.
And the fun part is because of how bad the Chiefs looked in the Super Bowl, people are now overcorrecting the other direction, and people are like once again like doing this whole song and dance with Baltimore and Buffalo again, which it may happen. I'm not saying it won't.
Correct.
But I'm saying us abandoning the way we normally talk about the AFC just because of that Super Bowl is a problem. And
yeah, I've had a lot of arguments lately about like results versus process and what defines an all-in move, and I tell people like, if Nickel Roby-Coleman is properly called for defensive pass interference in the NFC Championship game, we're making fun of the Rams for their all-in moves, and we've never seen a F them picks t-shirt. Like, we're making fun of it. Like, but they didn't get called for a ridiculous, blatant defensive pass interference, and they did go to the Super Bowl and they did win. So like it worked out and it was awesome. But like we put an awful lot in the results side of stuff where all the different pieces. If Mark Andrews doesn't fumble, there's a decent chance the Ravens go on, beat the Chiefs, and win the Super Bowl.
I think they win the whole thing. I really do.
The 13-second year, like which by the way, a lot of like Patriots and Dolphins fans may not know, like that was a miscommunication on the sideline. Like the call was to do a squib kick. The call went from the head coach to the special teams coordinator. He told the huddle he didn't realize Tyler Bass was doing one more warm-up kick at the net and that Tyler Bass wasn't in the huddle. So then Bass gets it, because you can actually see two of the players after the kick goes into the end zone turn and look at the sideline with their hands up like this. The call was to do a squib kick. So that happens. I think that year the Bills win the Super Bowl. They were the hottest team in the league. They were mowing through everybody. Like all those different things. Hell, last year, if that fourth down play where like they kept debating, did Josh get over the line? Like that would have been to go up 9 with, whatever 6 minutes to go. Would have felt pretty good. It's just a lot of stuff that's just that close that, it's the way the game goes.
And as a fan, and I'm sure we'll get to this, obviously, because we have a lot of teams to talk about. We are going to focus on our division, and we'll have this exact discussion when we talk about Greg's team. But as a fan, sometimes what you have to eat on that is the converse of the Nickel Roby-Coleman thing that you mentioned is that that era of the Saints, I'm pretty sure also ranks pretty high up there in 5-year DVOA runs.
It's right there. Yeah, it's right there in like when I saw that one's there, and one of the Colts stretches, Manning Colts stretches was there, the pre-Super Bowl one where they had a very similar experience to what we're talking about with Mahomes, but with Brady in that early stretch of Brady before Manning won his first one.
Yeah, and like that's how we define that Saints era. Because I think they definitely beat that Patriots team that was by far the worst Patriots team to ever make the Super Bowl. Sorry, like literally that game had one of the worst offensive Super Bowl performances ever. That is not remembered that way because there was an even worse one occurring in the exact same game. And we look at that whole era of the Saints differently just because of that one call. So that's life.
So some of the other teams on here is actually the Chiefs are on here from 2014 to 2018. The Chargers from 78 to 82. The Eagles have 2 different stretches in here from 2006 to 10 and then 7 to 11.
Weirdly, two of those both Andy Reid stretches there.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Buffalo 2019 to 23 as well. Same with Baltimore. Saints from and then the New Orleans Saints from 2016 to 2020, and the 2017 to 2021. The other one that's not listed is the 1973 to 1978 Rams. Mostly before DVOA started in 1978.
And that's the I think the Fearsome Foursome, they call them. They had like Merlin Olsen and Deacon Jones and like that ridiculous defensive line.
Yeah,
I think like 3 Hall of Famers on that defensive line.
Yeah, and it wasn't meant to be like, take a shot at the Bills or anything like that. Like even like I remember, Greg, your first ever appearance there, you shared that story about how that happened, and the special teams coordinator was quietly he was quietly just like
all of a sudden.
Team.
So we've heard different versions of that. Like I think the version I feel most strongly about now is that he actually quit on the spot after, because I think McDermott pretty much like had it out and put it all on him, even though he did tell the huddle and passed it along. And that I think McDermott was losing his shit and like put it all on that guy. And I think Heath Farwell's his name. I think he quit on the spot, and then they just kind of made it look more amicable in the release is what I think happened. But I feel like 95% of that story is true. Like I think there's little bits and pieces here or there, but I feel pretty confident that the vast majority of that is true.
It also just seems like sometimes there's no one to blame. I mean, I guess
yeah,
maybe,
correct.
Yeah, like maybe you blame the coordinator for not knowing the kickers there, but in general, I mean, no one really.
It's just a shitty. Yeah, it just sucks. Like there's no. You want there to be a single thing to blame, but you want ultimately
scalp on the wall. But
yeah.
One thing I just want to say, because you bring up the 2018 playoffs, just with obviously the Super Bowl was like, for me, I liked it. Obviously, my team won, but I will say this though, I was always more worried going into that Charger game than going into the Chiefs game, just because that entire week it was Brady this. I believe the Chargers were not a massive underdog, but they were a big underdog against the Ravens. They went into Baltimore and took care of them to where then they came in and everyone is just the end of Brady, and then Brady comes out just guns blazing and then has the famous press conference to Tracy Wolfson, everybody thinks we suck and that we're finished, and then he does his thing. Like, and also I say this too, his performance in that overtime, I think it's not undersold how good he had to be, just the conversions. But you know what? That's the past, and I don't want to be what is currently in the news, and that's a team where a all-pro future Hall of Famer pass rusher is something. But 2 first-round picks is 2 first-round picks.
It could be an all-pro pass rusher.
Those things grow on trees. You have Jerry saying to Joe Machota, who's the Cowboys reporter for The Athletic, Jerry Jones, when asked what he would say to Dallas Cowboy fans, and he says, "This was a move to get us successful in the playoffs." To where I say, they're a great business run. They have the Netflix documentary, which I'm watching, which is very interesting. Their cheerleading squad has a Netflix series that's being picked up for a 3rd year. But when it comes down to the brass tacks of it, football, it's just, there's a certain point where it's stop laughing at them. And it's just like, oh, what are you doing? It's just the person that you like. I'm not saying to feel bad for them, but it's just like, eventually I feel like someone's got to get in there, but it's not going to happen. Cause I don't know if you guys have seen the Netflix show, but he basically says, we didn't know the first thing about running a football team. And now it's like, well, no shit, Sherlock. It's been 30 years. Big Rat and I were toddlers when the last time the Dallas Cowboys were which this is the other fact I learned today, that since 2010, 15 other NFC teams have been to the NFC Championship game. Cowboys are the only one who haven't. Think about that.
Couple nuggets I saw today. In the last 25 years, 30 years, something like that, there have been 25 first-round picks who made a Pro Bowl in each of their first 4 seasons. Like 4 straight Pro Bowl seasons from the first time they were drafted.
Yep.
Micah Parsons is the first one to ever be traded. Ever. I also saw, since 1996, you mentioned the 0 NFC Championship game appearances, and how many others did.
Every other team in the NFC.
In that time, the Cowboys have been eliminated in the playoffs twice by the Carolina Panthers. 0 NFC conference championship appearances, 2 playoff eliminations by the Carolina Panthers.
Who started in 1993.
It was delightful. It was delightful.
And it did seem like the Cowboys like management had like this resurgence in public respect from 2014 to like 2023, because I remember
that stretch of the offensive line where they were just knocking every offensive line pick out of the park.
Out of Hall of Fame, like whether it's Tyron Smith or Travis Frederick or Zach Martin, like constant Hall of Fame candidate players. And I remember pre-2014, they were like, basically like what the Commanders had been. Like from 2007 to 2014, it was like making the playoffs once, like having bad seasons, like no one respects Jerry Jones. He's a wild man. He's a madman, etc. And then it was kind of revealed, oh, wow, they actually have some pretty talented people in that front office that know how to draft talent on the offensive line. And then getting Micah was a big win as well. And now it feels like from last year's really bad year to this trade to this upcoming season, we've now gone all the way back to full-on clown car. It doesn't matter that people respect Will McClay's ability to evaluate talent. It's like just it doesn't matter anymore because it's such a mess.
Yeah, it's just one of those things too, because even like there's the stories too. Apparently in 2016, he was like enamored with Paxton Lynch. He was banging the table for Paxton Lynch, and he had to be talked away from it. Which, guess what?
Similar stories with Johnny Manziel.
Yeah. That Stephen Jones had to take the card away from his hands because he so badly wanted to go up and turn it in.
It's awesome.
Just like so good. It's literally like modern day draft day with them, where it's like the owner goes there and they like the quarterback and everything. But no, it's just, how does this move make you better? It's like, hey, draft picks are draft picks, but we all know, like, hey, first round draft picks, like you can hit on them, great. There's a big difference between hitting on a draft pick and one becoming an all-pro off the hop.
It's not just that they traded him for draft picks. It's that you traded him to one of the teams in the NFL that has a crazy high floor. Like the Packers almost never have ever, like in our lifetimes watching the sport, they almost never have that 4-13 chaotic season.
Nope.
You traded him to, I think Matt LaFleur averages 11.5 wins a season as the Packers head coach, and they won 11 games last year, so it's not all with Aaron Rodgers. Like
with a great defensive coordinator too, and
oh man, I wasn't sure about Halfley coming into last year. He was so creative, and you just gave him the most movable chess piece in the NFL, like the guy you can put in the most different spots along the front seven. Like,
because
I don't know if he's going to play next week. Sorry to cut you off, but
go for it,
man. That week 1 game next week, Green Bay Dallas at 4:25.
Well, I mean, I think, in my opinion, the easiest position to walk in and be able to play day one in the NFL is pass rusher. Like second's probably running back, but like you got to know actual pass protection in running back. Like when you're an edge rusher, even it's like, hey, we're only going to be able to get you in for like 30 snaps today, but like every time it's 3rd and 6 or longer, there's nothing to know. Like, hey, go get that guy. Like that's it. Like that's your whole thing is go get that guy.
Go
so
inflict violence.
He might not play his full snap share,
no,
but like he's gonna play. They're gonna get him on the field.
And especially like you see, like historically, like whether it be Dante Fowler, like forcing the interception from Drew Brees in the NFC Championship game, or Von Miller with the 2021 Rams, you see a lot of those mid-season pass rusher trades usually pay off like right away. That's why Super Bowl teams do that.
Yeah, for sure. Super important question. Does Jaden Reed give him 11?
I feel like when you make $47 million, like you have to at minimum pay for it. Like if I'm Jaden Reed, it's like, come on, man, you make more money than Mahomes does. You got to give me something.
He was also 11 at Penn State. Yeah. And like I don't know him well enough to know what he was in hold on, I'll try to Google high school. And
I believe Jaden Reed was not 11 in college. I could be wrong about that, but he was wrong.
He was 23 in high school.
That was probably his basketball jersey too, because he was a big time. I think so, because he was a big time high school basketball player.
Was, and it was also because he played running back and defensive end. So it was actually probably more as a running back than it probably was as a pass rusher. It was probably because he was an excellent running back.
Yeah.
And Reed was 87 at Western Michigan.
And I don't think that you can be 23. I don't think pass rushers can be 23. Okay, no. Jadeveon Clowney, didn't he have a goofy like 20? Wasn't he 24 or something terrible like that?
I think with Carolina, it was something like that, like 22
Something
or
horrible.
24. Yeah.
We'll see. So
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
Yeah. No, it's just it's that man.
I don't know. I mean,
week 4, Green Bay goes to Dallas for Sunday Night Football.
That one's juicy.
And I think I don't even want to spend time on the football side of it because I just think it's just obvious. It's like, yeah, like it really helps Green Bay's biggest weakness. It's a huge blow to Dallas that already has so many guys on defense coming back from injury, and you lose DeMarcus Lawrence in the offseason. Like Micah, as important as he was, this was probably the most important year he was ever going to be for Dallas. And yeah, it's just I don't know what there is to say. It's just the basics.
I will say, it probably makes Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and George Pickens even better fantasy picks because every game's going to be a shootout.
Javonte Williams too.
Anybody.
Yeah,
Javonte Williams as well.
Hey, never know.
I
like Jaden Blue, but we'll see.
I bet on the Packers win total before this news.
Good for you.
Good
for you.
That's
a nice one.
I also have a Packers-Ravens Super Bowl ticket, and I feel pretty good about both of those. So I was high on Green Bay anyways, even before this. Obviously,
and again, obviously, contract is debatable. That's an enormous amount of money. 2 first-round picks and a Pro Bowl D tackle is, I guess you can at least say, paying full price per se.
Sure.
None of that impacts this year. None of that impacts right now.
Nope.
Like you'll figure out the cap down the line. I think I've read from some pretty knowledgeable people. This will force some pretty hard decisions next year and the year after. It don't matter for right now. You just you just had a team that was already pretty good and a defense that was going to be above average, and you just added arguably the most elite pass rusher in the league. At worst case, the top 5 best pass rusher in the league.
Stable franchises can get away with this. It's when the Browns have to make the gamble with Deshaun Watson, or when the Bears make the trade for Khalil Mack. That's when these trades like age poorly because you don't trust those people to be able to capitalize on using their better drafting skills without the high-end draft assets to overcome that loss of capital. You usually don't trust those franchises to do it. Green Bay, you could trust them. They'll be okay.
Yeah, it's a great call.
It's just here's the thing too. Like I literally did the NFC show 2 nights ago, and I was talking about like how I still like Detroit to win the division just because they're the team that's done it. Even though they're going to look different, I think there's going to be not growing pains, but there's going to be an adjustment there with them.
I'm on Green Bay,
and also Big Rat. Here's the thing too, because we'll talk about survival towards the end of the show. I was going to come on here with a soliloquy and say why I love Dallas plus 7.5 for next week because the whole thing about divisional games. You pick the underdog when it's a touchdown or more spread.
It's
and I was like, saying,
now.
It's a little complicated now to where I'm like, I don't know if you make that bet. Like I don't know if you do that. Like even with Dallas too, with their schedule, they have the marquee of marqueest games on Thanksgiving this year because it's not just some random team coming to town. Guess what? It's the Kansas City Chiefs are coming to town on Thanksgiving. You still have all these primetime games. You have all these seas to charter. Like I said, there's the 2 Netflix documentaries, even though one has nothing to do with football. Still, there's a community of people who love that. And the fact, too, that you have a new head coach, you have a new deep coordinator in Matt Eberflus. It's just, what do we do? And by the way, dogs bark on here all the time, so you're fine to not mute. But there's just so many questions now with this football team to where, hey, bet the over. Just take the over and just hold your breath. That's all I got to say when it comes to Dallas. Yeah. Moving into why we're here with the AFC.
Yeah, let's get into it.
I'm going to start with the AFC South just because it's a questionable division, and this is a question for Greg. Greg, what's worse, the Colts quarterback play or the pretzels that they try to make?
Whoever was in charge of that pretzel, you gotta do better. The fact that like the consistent, trustworthy, steady fallback choice was Daniel Jones is such a amazing situation. I can't believe that they're going to be in this position, but I'm actually super excited because I've been making the case for the last couple of years that I hate it that not only do the Chiefs get Mahomes and Reed, which is unbelievable all-time combination, kind of the Brady Belichick level stuff.
Yeah.
But you also get this built-in cheat code of the fact that you have an incredibly overqualified defensive coordinator that just happens to be in this weird spot of like was a terrible head coach and is older and it's on the defensive side, so you don't actually have to worry about losing him. So now they get this weird combination. So I keep making the case that I want my offensive Steve Spagnuolo for McDermott and Allen. So I keep talking about like, hey, I want to wait for one of these offensive head coaches who I don't think is going to get a second job. So I won't count like a Kevin Stefanski. So I do think he'd get a second crack at it. But my number one draft pick is Shane Steichen. Like, I think if Shane Steichen gets fired, I don't think he's right there at the front of the line to get another one. And I do think Joe Brady's going to get a head coaching job. Here he's got interviews the last 2 years. I think he'll be, right there for one of the lead openings this coming year. And I want when this goes disastrously wrong for the Colts and everybody there gets fired, I'm excited to take a shot at Shane Steichen and be like, yeah, come on over, come work with Josh Allen. You can just hang out here, give me 8 years, just give me a good run, consistency, same system all the time. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, that's a big. Oh, go on, Big Rat.
No. I mean, I agreed with most of what he said. I'm excited. I was excited as the Colts Week 1 opponent that they went with Daniel Jones, because I do like. Even the harshest criticism you can come up with Anthony Richardson, you can never tell me that he has a lower single game ceiling than Daniel Jones does. Like, if you want to say over the course of a season, Richardson's injuries or the inaccuracy may be a problem, whatever. I think in terms of a single game, Anthony Richardson has highs that Daniel Jones, I do not think will reach, especially in Week 1 of a new system with a new environment. So I was rooting for Daniel Jones to win the job. Thought it would be better for the Dolphins. And the Dolphins, these are typically the type of quarterbacks that the Dolphins beat up on, like the guys that once Anthony Weaver, not to make this a Dolphins conversation, but sending multiple defenders through the same gap and having 5 guys in the line of scrimmage and potentially having the quarterback freak out about what's mugged, what's not, who's actually coming, who's not, and then you somehow get 1 or 2 unblocked rushers. These are the kind of quarterbacks that this whole scheme is designed to make crumble. So I'm excited.
Also, in Week 1, your pass rush is still going to be healthy. So you got that.
Everyone's there, ready to go, man. Hey, September Dolphins. We'll get to that.
And then Week 2, and you get me Week 2, and you get him Week 3.
The Jets Week 4.
Yes. But my big thing with the Colts too is just the simple fact that, and I've said this to Big Rat before, Greg, but I've been a big, why hasn't Chris Ballard been fired yet? Kind of on that train, because. And look, there's a very weird situation with ownership. I know, obviously, Jim Irsay tragically passed away. There was a weird story that came out today about with him doing ketamine or something like that.
There might have been a relapse prior to him passing that was kind of. I saw one was that it was just unfortunate, and then I saw another one that was like throwing around some allegations that the reason it didn't come up is because the people involved were also the ones writing the prescriptions for. I saw a couple allegations thrown around there that I don't know if any truth is to them, but it does sound like there was some sad relapse towards the end.
Yeah, and like basically now, because I believe it's one of his daughters. I know there's 3 daughters. I don't know which. I know there's one of them that's kind of taking over, so I don't know if there's an adjustment period.
Yes. That one actually, I will say, for obviously he had a lot of very funny storytelling versions of his demons, which there's my favorite one is Josh McDaniels' wife making him turn down the job because he spent a half hour unexplained in their bathroom. Like that. Did you know how long 30 minutes is? Like, I don't know if you guys, I've never had a billionaire in my home. I've never had a billionaire in my house. But to like how much attention and stress and excitement, but worry there is when you're having a billionaire in your home, potentially about to offer you a like 8-digit contract and all the things that means in life. And then during that, to have that person disappear in your bathroom without explanation for 30 minutes is the longest 30 minutes of your life. Like that is the longest 30 minutes of your entire life.
You feel every minute, like all 30 of those minutes.
Because you can't go knock and check, but you're constantly whispering back and forth like, hey, what the hell's going on? Like, I love that story. Beyond that, it seems like when not influenced by other substances, he actually invested more time from I guess maybe besides Stephen Jones, more time in genuine exposure to all the different phases of the team, from like not only roster building, but like another one was very involved in the business, marketing, vendors, facilities, that side of business. And then another one in like athletic training and the physical, like genuine investment in time in those things to kind of build a three-headed leadership, with one of them taking the overall lead. But a lot of planning went into that setup and structure.
Yeah, and by the way, it's so it's the three daughters actually that are all the owners. So Carly Ursay Gordon, Casey Foyt, and Kaylin Jackson. But Carly is also the CEO of the team. So I think she's going to be Carly's going to be the main. That's what I meant. So like Carly's going to be the main voice. I think you hear from the most. But it's going to.
And I think the way they structured it, they each it's like a 30. I don't know if it's 33% each, but I think that there's a pretty close to even split, but with her as head and chairperson.
So yeah, following basically, Ursay Gordon has been the principal owner and the CEO stuff since there. Let's see if there's anything else. After her father's death in May 2025, the Colts announced that Ursay Gordon would assume the titles of owner and CEO of the team. So that's all there. My other thing with this team too is they have pieces, but I feel like they always have that Andrew Luck crutch where it's always been, Luck, like the Andrew Luck retirement, which now it's 6 years ago, which is no longer a valid excuse. It's no longer, no one feels bad for you. It happened. Move on, move past it. They have to do something this year. They're not. I think it's going to be, like we're saying, total house cleaning. And then Chris Ballard has never won the AFC South. Every other team's won the AFC South, but Chris Ballard, I just think, look, and the stupidest one still is in 2018. We played them on Thursday Night Football, and there was that stupid, the rivalry is back on, and Brady spanked them. So that's just my little soliloquy.
That stat reminded me of my favorite AFC East stat, in that there's 4 teams in the AFC East, and the Jets are 5th all-time in division titles. It's still my favorite stat. It's so wonderful. There's 4 teams in the like. There are people. There are adults. Like there are business owners. There are doctors who have never lived in a 5-team AFC East, and the Jets have the 5th most division titles in division history.
Oh my god!
I for the other teams, and I mean, I find their ceiling kind of like bland. Like obviously everyone knows it can go horribly, but even like the best case scenario of this, of like Shane Steichen like grifting his way to another Gardner Minshew 9-8 or 10-7 season, I think that's very possible. It's just
he's done it with bubblegum and duct tape.
It's just that's the classic like wild card team that no one respects, and it just kind of feels like
that everyone bets on. Everyone bets on, and that's always like the Saturday afternoon wild card game.
4 o'clock game,
4:30 p.m. The Houston Texans Invitational.
I think the other teams. I mean, the other teams I think have more interesting juice to them because there's a lot of smoke on the Jaguars. You have a lot of people that think the Jaguars. There's a lot of. I mean, one I will say, like the very quickness with which everyone is just like, obviously Liam Cohen's an upgrade over Doug Peterson. It's like, I feel like that's playing the result a little bit. Like maybe Doug Peterson was just out of touch in the modern NFL, and the staples he had in 2017 have not evolved with the times as you would expect. And the offense certainly wasn't good when he was there last year and the year before. But Liam Cohen, like before 2024, no one would have ever said this take ever. No one. Because Doug Peterson helped the Jaguars win their first playoff game since 2017. Liam Cohen was fired by the Rams at the end of 2022 and then took a college coordinator job at Kentucky and was so-so at that point, and then became the Bucs replacement for Dave Canales. And they had a great year. I understand it. It was an incredible season from him, but I think we're crowning him a little too quickly for my likings. And I think that Travis Hunter, I think it's going to be cool watching him play on both sides, but I don't think it's necessarily year one going to have the double-sided impact.
I think it's what people thought Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to be last year. I think that's Travis Hunter this year.
Well, and because
even from a fantasy standpoint, remember Marvin Harrison Jr. is supposed to come in and light the world on fire. He did, and Brian Thomas Jr. did, and now everyone's going Marvin Harrison, where it's like, oh, is he this? Where this year I'm high on Marvin Harrison Jr. I think Travis Hunter's a similar impact when it comes to fantasy football.
He's
good, but he's not this like ball, make
Right
deal
now.
breaking player we all thought he was going to be.
I am a long-term believer in Travis Hunter being an impact player on offensive defense.
Yeah.
I really am. But
not immediate, not short-term
I think
future,
it's
long-term
asking
future.
a lot to have an immediate year one impact like that. And no matter how good he is as a receiver, I think it's unlikely that he will out-target Brian Thomas Jr. in the same offense. So for that reason, it could be a season where he has like 850 receiving yards and he's playing like 33% of the snaps on defense. And we're all like, this is so cool. This is actually really novel in today's NFL, but not necessarily resulting in a top 10 offense or a top 10 defense with those impacts.
I'm torn on the Jaguars because I do think too many people are out in front of it and too many people are buying them as like, this thing. I will say, I think we'll know quick because
That's fair.
Especially when it's the offensive mastermind coach. When it goes well immediately.
Yep.
Like Sean McVay was 11-5. Mike McDaniel set the league on fire his first year. LaFleur, Kevin O'Connell. Like when it goes well, it goes really well immediately. So I don't know if that's like a 30% thing for me or a whatever. Like I think it's less than 50-50, but I don't think it's some lottery ticket. I think like there's a very real chance he's the real deal. And when offensive minds are the real deal, this is where you see it, where like how many times have people like tried to make the case for the Jaguars the last couple of years because of how many top end picks they have and how much talent they have on paper, but it just always keeps falling apart. Like if somebody figures it out, it could turn around very quickly. But I gotta see it to believe it. The Jaguars, if it's bad for so long, I gotta see it to believe it.
I also think with Trevor Lawrence too. I said get my phone, my power bank died, so I had to get my other just wall plug to charge my phone. But I think this year too with Trevor Lawrence, it's a huge year for him and his career. Not in the sense of make or break. If he doesn't do well this year, it's it for him. But I think he has like that like meme where it's like, the splitting of roads. Yeah. I think there's the road where he's, that Kirk Cousins, like what we're seeing Kyler Murray go on career path. Or there's that, hey, the guy we thought you were going to be always like now top 12 quarterback kind of guy. Are you 13 to 18 or are you going to be that like 12 and above kind of player? I think this is a huge year for him. I also need to see that defense take strides because they've really added a lot of guys throughout the years on defense there to where how do you hold your own? And I'm not saying Houston's going to be bad, but they are one Nico Collins injury away from being in serious trouble, in my opinion. Please look up the stats on Houston, the difference between with and without Nico Collins. That's why I nicknamed him CJ Stroud's emotional support wide receiver. Some people have an emotional support animal. CJ Stroud has an emotional support wide receiver.
He's a good one.
He's good though, but the numbers go, whoops, I'm getting really the AFC hype. I'm smacking my microphone around. But we also have the Tennessee Titans too, who I feel like are a wild card, but I feel like they're that like still a couple of years away from making noise unless Cam Ward, Big Rat can allude on Cam Ward a lot as a fan of the U, which I'm going to talk to you about Andy in a little bit.
I think that he's going to make a very serious difference, but it's ultimately not going to matter that much right now just because there's so many other gaps on the team. But I think their offensive line is significantly better, and I think he's the real deal. So those two alone, it's going to make a big difference. But they were so bad that like big difference is it's like you guys with your offensive line. Like the Patriots offensive line is significantly better, but they were so bad that now they're like the 26th best offensive line in the league, but it's going to seem awesome because 32nd was an insult. It's just because they were only 32, so you had to rank them 32nd.
Yep, we'll talk about that after. But I think with Tennessee too, they're like 5 to like with. Also, I'll say this with like records for all these teams. I think Indianapolis could potentially be that like 3-14 or 4-13 team, but they could also be that like 9 or 10 win team. I think Tennessee's like 5 or 6 wins, and then I think Jacksonville and Houston both will fit somewhere in between 7 to 10. That's how I see it playing out.
What separates Tennessee from the Command, and I won't spend because I know we got other divisions to get to. Like what separates Tennessee from the Commanders last year and the Texans the year before. The Texans had a massive schematic advantage with D'Amico coming in, both as a culture setter, but also as a defensive play caller. Yep. My quarterback always gets like lambasted by the national media when he gets embarrassed by an elite defense. But the Texas defense was doing that to everybody. They did that to Allen. They did that to Goff. They did that to Herbert famously in a playoff game. We were by no means the only victim of that tenacity, especially in their building. So that difference-making edge, the Commanders had a culture center in Dan Quinn. I think Jaden Daniels was better than CJ Stroud the year before. And they had a lot of veterans who could be like fringe Pro Bowl talents right away. Like freaking getting Bobby Wagner in to kind of on a 1-year deal to still have a really strong impact right away. This Tennessee coaching staff was 2-15 against the spread last year. Like, it's too early to say that Brian Callahan is bad at this, but we certainly have no evidence that he's good at this. Like, they did below market expectation on a weekly basis. And one of the 2 games they covered was against the Dolphins in a game that Tua didn't play, which as we'll get to.
Maybe the worst special teams in NFL history. Like legitimately in the discussion for the worst special teams in NFL history.
Cost them multiple games, and that is usually a coaching problem. And so I think Cam Ward can be, even if he is as talented as Stroud and Daniels are, I don't think he has those advantages around him to overcome that and have that surprise rookie year playoff season out of nowhere.
His best case scenario is he shows lots of flashes, but their overall results are bad enough that Callahan gets fired, and then he gets a good coach the next year.
And he gets the actual coach that he should have had. Yeah,
I honestly maybe gets Joe Brady. Like I actually think it could like
he'll be high on the list because they're obviously when you draft someone like Cam Moore first overall, you're going to have an offensive minded head coach, like for sure.
Yep.
And he between the ears is one of the best you'll ever see. Like he does genuinely have like a Joe Burrow type confidence and bravado that is infectious, that is not talk, that is not fluff. You can tangibly feel it both in how the players talk about him, and you will see it on the field. You will see that self-belief.
I heard it wasn't Callahan, it was another coach, but that was being interviewed for something separate and made comments about like, oh, when he first started, he was getting the rest of the receivers and specialty other position skill players to do these like 5 a.m. meetings at the facility, and like, oh, that's cute, like, but that's gonna wear out. And he's like, no, they're still doing it like yesterday. Like they're still like, no, he's got every single one of them coming in at 5 a.m. to do these breakdowns and these film meetings before practice and before everything, and then they go in and work out. And he's like, I've never seen it before. And like it's just a rookie. Like that kind of command when everybody else is a veteran and everybody else is there and they rebuild their routines around you, that shit's real. That is very real.
There was a story in college that one of the receivers on the team was not going to go to a throwing session with him because the receiver told Cam Ward, it's nothing against you, but an NFL quarterback, unnamed, is willing to throw with me, and I want to go practice with that guy. And Cam Ward told him, I don't care if that guy's in the NFL. If you don't come to my throwing session, I will not throw you the ball this year. And the receiver went to the throwing session, and the hole was fixed. Cam's command does matter. Now, Jameis was praised for his leadership when he was coming out. Now it's kind of a meme, but it actually was like a tangible thing that people talk about.
Yes.
Like Jason Light, who is now a Super Bowl winning GM and has now clearly built a consistent playoff team that is separate from
very underrated GM in the league.
Well, because people overcredited Brady for the Bucs' success, like they've been doing with Brady's whole career. What else is new? Like since it's been proved for the last 2 years. And so, but before, not to make it a Brady point, but I just wanted to say that Jason Light said on Hard Knocks that Jameis Winston was the best leader he's ever seen in his life. And Jameis had a turnover problem, loved Cam to death, rooting for Cam. There was a lot of throws that Cam did in college that he will not get away with in the NFL. And it was the kind of thing
that bravado and confidence.
That is, one kind of leads to the other. But even in college, it was very much kind of the thing of, well, you got to take the good with the bad. It was almost like people used to talk about Allen, like early in his career. Like, you got to take the reckless play with like the highlight reel touchdown. But in the NFL, you can't take the bad for very long. Like the bad has to be cut down. And I don't know if Cam Ward is going to have like enough of a Josh Allen type ceiling to be able to just lead the league in turnovers and have that be okay. I feel like if Cam Ward's leading the league in turnovers, the Titans are probably not winning games.
I feel like with Josh too, everyone, we kind of like a lot of people, like, especially Bills fans, like they saw early on where they were like, hey, if Josh does this, just wait. Like I have like a similar feeling with Drake right now. I'm going to get into that where with that, one take, I actually fired this off of my NFC show. I called Tampa a dark horse Super Bowl team for this year. I think that they're just the way they're built, the way they're constructed. I just think, they have a very good offensive line. They have a very good defensive line. They still have the offensive talent. I think it's just for them. Can you go toe to toe with the big dogs in the NFC? That's all I want to say with there.
But before I was going to say to go to the next division, but like
I was supposed to ask, who do you guys winning?
Texans.
Yeah,
boring.
I'd love to say that it's going to be the Jags, and I think that they're the only ones who have a chance. I don't think Tennessee or Indy has any realistic shot at it. But it would be silly to not pick the Texans.
Just start making better pretzels, and then we'll pick you to win. I think the best thing about the Colts this year really is Seth the Flow's songs before the games. Just, that's the best part about the Colts.
I'll be nice.
And also, okay, last thing before the next division, the Texans fans, stop blaming Bobby Sloak for everything. I feel like whenever this happens in football discourse, it's almost always comes out the next year. Actually, maybe the quarterback wasn't as good as we thought. Actually, maybe the roster on offense wasn't as strong as we thought. Usually when we always...
Who is their OT this year?
For everything? I'm not sure. But they replaced Bobby Sloak is now with the Dolphins. And they've turned him into this national scapegoat that he ruined Stroud and ruined the protection schemes, even though he was the same OC the year before when they were having all the success.
Yes. Nick Caley is the special teams coach. Came from the McVay tree. We'll see.
But yeah, next division.
So wait, is Nick Caley OC or special teams in?
Nick Caley is the OC in Houston.
Yeah, and then Matt Burke's the DC. I remember Bobby Slowick was in there for head coaching jobs after 2024, 2023, excuse me, but he just didn't take it. I'm going to go NFC North just because it's another division where it's the top's really good. The bottom, I actually give Cleveland, and I feel like, Greg, because you live there, I give them credit for what the trade they did. I know they could have taken Travis Hunter and had the flash pick, but they looked at it and said, hey, we're looking to the future. We fucked up. We are owning up for our mistakes. We're probably not going to be good again in 2025. Let's see what we have and then go forward. My real big question is just, what are the Cincinnati Bengals? And is Pittsburgh going to be anything? Or is it just the same old thing, where you somehow get to 9-8 or 10-7, you get waxed in the playoffs?
I mean, Aaron Rodgers is pretty healthy last year and terrible. And very, very clear that he had no interest in being hit like Pittsburgh was used to in the last year with Ben Roethlisberger. I find it really hard to believe that he's going to get better at 42. Like he's just all of a sudden there's something more that we didn't see last year. Garrett Wilson's better than DK Metcalf. I think the offensive lines are pretty similar. Breece Hall and Braylon Allen are better than Jalen Warren, and I just don't.
Freiermuth?
Sure, there you go. They got better tight ends. There you go. Pat Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith are better tight ends. That's the lock. Better than the Jets. I just don't. I think that as a franchise, of course, the Steelers are a more stable organization. But if you go roster to roster, is the Steelers' defensive talent better than the Jets' defensive talent?
No.
There's an awful lot of eggs in the basket of, oh man, it's Rodgers and Mike Tomlin. That's got to be something. It doesn't have to be. It might not be. My favorite possible outcome is that Duck Hodges, Mason Rudolph, all these other things that Mike Tomlin has made more chicken salad out of more chicken shit than any coach in recent history at quarterback. And he's never had a losing record. And his first losing record is going to be with Aaron Rodgers. I want that so badly, is that he is able to make everything work with these hysterical cast of characters. And then Aaron Rodgers is his first losing record. I want that so badly.
I find the Bengals to be very boring to talk about as well, because I think their story is very simple. They will have a great offense. They will have a bad defense. And football, I mean, I know in general, I ran on quarterbacks on the show, but a big part of it is yes, quarterback is the single most important position in football if you had to pick one of the 22 positions.
Yep.
This notion that just because you have an elite quarterback, you will have an elite team is just not true. It's never been true. And Drew Brees went 7-9, 3 straight years while throwing for 5,000 yards all 3 of those years in 2014, 2015, 2016.
That's why it's one they can't next year.
Yeah, and then goddamn NFC South. It's not even like he was dealing with powerhouses over there. And this notion that because the Bengals have Joe Burrow, it is like their divine right to get to 11 wins and get to the divisional round. No, it is not. They can have a great offense and a horrible defense. That usually means you are about 500. And I think it's going to be exactly like it was last year. Because Al Golden, I like him as a play caller. He was a Hurricanes head coach, disastrous job. But as a DC for Notre Dame, he was genuinely a value add for Notre Dame. It wasn't just a talent. I fully agree. I don't fully believe that Lou Anarumo, who was the D coordinator that propelled that Super Bowl run, because people forget that defense
was a freaking magician that nobody could praise enough.
The Chiefs went 3 and out, 6 straight drives in that AFC Championship game. Almost always, it's just like Belichick and Brady. Almost always when the quarterback is the hero late in the fourth quarter, it's because the defense got enough stops in a row to give them the chance to be the hero in the first place. And the Bengals don't come back in that game if their defense doesn't completely lock Mahomes down for almost 2 full quarters in the second half of that game. And I just don't buy that the coordinator change on its own can overcome the deficiencies in the roster. It's very clear that Trey Hendrickson is not going to be there next year. Like, that contract they agreed to is basically a piecemeal compromise of, let's just get through this year. You'll still have your free agency status next year. We'll give you a raise. We'll make this not fully a waste of your time, but let's just get through the year and then we can go our separate ways. Almost
on top of the fact, 35 sacks the last 2 years have hidden the fact that it's because he only hunts sacks. He's maybe the worst run defender of any of the elite pass rushers in that top group. It's because he only hunts sacks.
And that's what Cam Jordan had that speech on Julian Edelman's podcast, where he's like, some of your favorite pass rushers out there lead the league in sacks, maybe a liability against outside zone. Maybe they're going through the wrong gaps and the linebackers on the team hate him. And you would never know about it because you're just seeing the sack numbers. He played with Trey Hendrickson for several years, kind of seemed like that's who he was referring to. So I think the Bengals, I have an under on their win total as well. I think they're going to be a boring 9-8. I really do. I really think. And last year they were 4-8. They won 5 straight to end the year. Beating Denver was a nice enough win, even though it was overtime. It was at home. But a lot of those other teams they beat were just corpses down the stretch. Like they beat the Titans
to week 1, though.
You could even have a couple go the other way. They had some despicable, really crazy losses that maybe a couple of those go their way this year, but then also maybe they stub their toe against a couple dumb teams and have a couple dumb shootout losses that go, it's like all those things go both directions when those things happen. It doesn't always just regress positively.
And that, when you build a team like this, you are building a team to have your game decided by 7 points or less every single week. And you'll win some, you'll lose some. On aggregate, that's probably 9-8. Yes, you could go 5-0 in 1-score games and go significantly above that.
Yes, you could. Yeah, you had that Vikings year a couple years ago. You had, those things. The Commanders last year. You can have lots of things that just everything seems to break their way, but
and it's hard. It's especially hard to have one of those seasons when you're in the same division as the Baltimore Ravens. When you play the Browns week 1 and you're notoriously, as Griff was saying, one of the worst week 1 teams ever. Zach Taylor,
they can't. They absolutely have. They played all their starters in preseason. Yep. They've invested so much in not going 0-1. If they somehow lose to whatever the hell, and it's Joe Flacco, so I have a little glimmer. I have a little glimmer of hope that it's possible. If Myles Garrett could just have one of those awesome 4-sack games with a strip sack fumble and give it to me.
Do we take Cleveland plus 5.5 week 1?
I'm going on principle. I feel like, and
I respect you so much for doing it. Thank you.
They are one. Zach Taylor in the first 2 games is 1-11 as a head coach.
That's awesome. That's so great. Speaking of, we talked about with the GM in Indy, how does Zach Taylor still have a job?
His seat is on fire.
That Super Bowl run was a little bit ago.
That 9-8 thing that I was talking about, if you do that again, given what we've talked about with the expectations and the belief that with Joe Burrow, you have to be in the Super Bowl divisional rounds every year, you probably won't last much longer. Even though it's not his fault either. It's the construct of the team. I don't think he's a good coach. Let me be clear. I'm not defending the positives of Zach Taylor. I'm saying the way this roster is built, they are predetermined to succeed on offense and fail on defense. It just is what it is. I don't see anything significantly changing.
I think there's also an alternate universe too, where if and this is a very, just not gory, it's a very dark example, but I still say that Buffalo at the end of the 2022 season, they were mentally drained because of everything that happened with DeMar. That doesn't happen. I think there's a very good chance that the Bills beat the Bengals in that divisional round game that year as well. And then we have another Chiefs-Bills AFC Championship game in 2022. Because that's what I was saying. Because like how, that year Buffalo was going toe-to-toe with New England week 17. Skylar Thompson nearly beat them in the wild card round. So that's why I was just saying the mental exhaustion kicked in for Buffalo. So I think there's an alternate universe for that. It's like the one meme I saw with the Taylor and Travis engagement where it was, Bengals fans 2021 season where they kind of hold on to that. The other joke I love to hear about Mike Brown is he's the kind of owner that when they go to the Super Bowl, his first thought is, this is going to cost me hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to, bring everyone.
Rather than benefiting from it.
Yeah, benefiting from it. It's, I have to spend all this
I'm
money.
really mad at you because you missed the amazing analogy of it's literally from the Tiger King, I'm never going to financially recover from this. Like,
It's literally how Mike Brown views it. Like he literally sold the stadium, the naming rights, because he had to pay Joe Burrow. And also I have a crazy take with them. I do think T. Higgins doesn't live up to the contract just because, like Chase is Chase. Jamar Chase is going to do Jamar Chase. But the rest of the team, it's like, unless they go on a goofy run and they get a bunch of bounces to go their way, I'm with you 9-8. And then Zach, they're looking for a new coach next year. And then Baltimore is one of 3 teams in the AFC that you're not judged until January. That's just as simple as that.
What even is there to say? They're going to have a great offense. They're going to have a great defense. Their defense got a lot better as the year went along last year. Like
week one Sunday Night Football, I just get to be a fan and kick my feet up.
I do want to have
Greg gets to shit his pants, but I get to enjoy it.
I want to have a conversation with Mr. Greg when we get to Buffalo about the 5-year DVOA thing, because there is something there that I do think is worth discussing on Sean McDermott. But for the Ravens, whether fair or not, unless you're going to talk about firing John Harbaugh, which no one's going to actually take you seriously for,
no.
I just hope that you get the 1 seed again and hope Lamar plays better than he did against the Chiefs in 2023. That's all it is. Like, simple as that.
Yeah, and the Ravens have seemed to have found another, Hall of Fame caliber kicker, as their other one turned out to be a pervert. So then they find another guy in the draft who's like knocking 60-yarders in the preseason. And then the only thing I'll say with Pittsburgh, just to end the AFC North, is the whole Mike Tomlin. I know there's a big contingency of Steelers fans that, say every year Mike Tomlin fired. I saw signs of the Baltimore game where it's like his LinkedIn page. It's like updating his LinkedIn profile where I'm like, Mike Tomlin's one of those coaches that when he gets fired, a mediocre team is going to fire their head coach to try and hire him.
So he would have so many job offers so quickly.
Mike
Tomlin would be unemployed for minutes.
If the Rooney family was stupid, they would do it, but the Rooney family's not stupid. The Rooney family knows what they're doing. That's why they've had 3 head coaches in literally 55 years.
It does. We'll talk. I mean, it's a Dolphin. The Dolphins will be interested. Like, we'll talk about McDaniel, but it does kind of have a little Andy Reid Eagles like vibe to it. And the Eagles were not a bad organization. And like Jeffrey Lurie's even said, like, it's not like they didn't think that Andy Reid would continue to have success moving forward. Yeah. It's just sometimes.
And people forget, like, Andy Reid had that amazing run. It was the 5 NFC Championship games and the Super Bowl loss, but his last 2 seasons were 7-9 and 4-12.
Yeah, I would definitely think that. I think
like that,
the Steelers.
Like, because people use it. I mean, obviously, it gets thrown at me a ton with the McDermott, run of like, yeah, sure, it sounds great, but like it doesn't matter because you don't win the big one, and they always will use the Reid. I'm like, yeah, but Reid didn't get fired after losing the NFC Championship game. He got fired. It wasn't even after the 7-9 season. It was 7-9 and then 4-12, and then he got fired. If McDermott goes 7-9 and 4-12, of course I'm going to want him to be fired. Shit, if he just does it once, like if you miss the playoffs with a healthy Josh Allen, fire him. Like I'm in. But like you can't win 5 straight divisions and 5 straight seasons with a playoff win and fire the coach. Like that's just not how it works. Like it's just not how it works.
No. Well, but because it seems like we all have the Ravens. Greg, before we go to the West, I just wanted to ask you, because last year you told us something very interesting on this podcast about Cleveland, that you can kind of get the sense that even before Watson was like terrible, like early last year, that the Brown fans had already given up, that they already were not rooting for him. Even though from our perspective, his last appearance was beating the Ravens in a game that he played okay in, and then he was immediately hurt out for the year. And it's kind of like, okay, he's out for the year, that sucks, but you ended on a little bit of a high. So maybe you could the fan thing. You talk yourself into it, even if it's not real. And you were saying it's already dead, already, before we even start playing. And then the rest of us saw as it was already dead and as the season went along. Yeah. This year, all right, go ahead.
They have this is the most apathetic, disconnected, disinterested, lack of emotion season I've had in the 25 years I've lived. Like, again, I moved down south for a while and back forth, but all my adult friends from college onward are all Cleveland and Browns fans. I've never, they don't care at all. Like, they care about Ohio State. They're kind of excited about their fantasy team. And yeah, I guess the Browns are going to play. Like, this is the most apathetic I've ever seen them. Most of them, the couple like super diehard, really passionate fans are like, I'll care again in 2027. Just think it's going to take a while to clear the books. Just try to stockpile. They were happy about the trade you mentioned, Griff, about like, hey, build the trenches, collect draft picks. I'll care again in 2027.
And also to them building a dome stadium, they need to go to jail. If they
is there a call from any of them? Would they have any excitement in seeing Shedeur play regular season games? Or are they not as attached to him as the country is?
So that the later preseason game was such a necessary wake-up call, because the first one was like, one, it was sheltered. It wasn't actually that good, but there was enough flashes that it let people tell themselves what they wanted to hear. And I mean, I'm around all the time for like, there were Shedeur Sanders jerseys around town. Like, that's really quick to turn those around. And that later game was like, oh, okay. All right. So I think it was a really healthy wake up call of like, all right, settle down. Like, yes, I do think you got good value in the 5th round. He was, I think, pretty universally, he was better than a 5th round pick. And that all of the crap in the media was why, because people didn't want that with a QB2. And with like, nobody wants their backup to be talked about more than other things going on. And that's why he got passed on by so many teams that certainly would have taken him above other people. But I do think it was like a really healthy wake up call of like, oh, okay, all right. You know, maybe he'll turn into something functional someday. And I am of the belief that there's a non-zero chance he could be a Kirk Cousins. Like, where not a special arm, but capable, good decision maker. And if you put him in the right situation with the right weapons, maybe it could work. Maybe it could function as a good offense. But he's never going to be special. He's never going to have special athleticism. He's never going to have a special arm. It's always going to be limited in what he can do and is going to need. And like, again, anytime, if you need a really special scheme and amazing protection and great weapons, well, then you might as well throw in the guy with amazing upside, because you have an amazing scheme and a great protection and great weapons. Like, if you need all those things, you might as well try the guy with the amazing athletic upside. So it's just, you know, his ceiling is never going to matter ultimately.
I do think they've already justified the pick, because they traded Kenny Pickett for a 5th round pick.
Yeah.
And it's easier to make that trade when you use the prior 5th round pick on Shedeur. So it kind of seems like they've already kind of recouped the draft asset back by doing that.
It's fine. And it's all, everything's based on next year. And I will say, after the first one, there was obviously some excitement around there. And the discussion was, okay, well, we have to know one way or the other, because the worst case scenario was Shedeur Sanders played, trying to think of a good example, played like Justin Fields last year, where it's like, hey, this is kind of working, but is it because of him, or like, is he? The worst case scenario was kind of good, because you either needed like, holy shit, this is going to work, like we don't need to use our pick on a quarterback, or okay, all right, that guy's a disaster, we for sure need to use our pick on a quarterback. Like, the worst case scenario was like, wait, why did we go 6-11 with Shedeur? Like, this is weird. Is that a thing? Like, so I now think at least that is out the window. I don't at least don't think they don't have to worry about it. I feel pretty confident he's going to start 5 or 6 games this year. Like at some point he's going to play, but we'll see.
And then will Greg be in the crowd for Week 16 when the Buffalo Bills go to?
I went to lunch with 2 people who will be in the crowd for that game today because I've told this story before on here, but I grew up the vast majority of my life. If you ever met a Bills fan, it was great because it meant they were from Western New York because it's the only place that Bills fans came from. Like they just did not exist anywhere else, or you were born of someone who was from Western New York. Like that was the only scenario. There were no like organic Bills fans who just chose to root for the Bills. And now, like all around, like my neighbor literally across the street is a Josh Allen and Bills fan because it's Josh Allen, and that's it. Like it's crazy now seeing all these other people that have just become Bills fans because it's fun and they're good. And like we've never had bandwagon fans before. Like, I don't even know what the hell that is. And now having that is made it kind of interesting to see.
Phenomenal.
AFC West, I'm going to say this, and this is going to sound weird, but I kind of like what Las Vegas is doing. I just think they're in a really bad situation where you have, I thought Greg was frozen for a second because like entire like left side was up there. But no, I think Vegas like has potential. Yes. I think Vegas has potential to be annoying. I'm not here to say they're going to be good. I just think, they finally have a competent coach. They finally have a decent-ish quarterback.
Which division's better, NFC North or AFC West?
AFC West.
I would say the AFC West, yeah.
I like the comparison because like I think the Chiefs are probably better than anybody in the NFC North, maybe. But the fact that like the 4th best team in both divisions would probably win the AFC South. Like I think if you put the Bears and the Raiders in the AFC South, like take a shot. Like yeah, I think just the fact that there's a very good shot that 4th place in those divisions is 8 and 9. I think that it's right there, and that there's a non-zero chance that like you have some crazy confluence of events where you have like 4 double-digit win teams from one of those divisions. Yeah. It's just awesome. I'd like all 8 teams. I like all 4 teams in both divisions, and I could see all kinds of crazy orders of how the teams finish.
I do think the Raiders. I think the Raiders actually have a chance to take one of those wildcard spots. I really do, because basically, I think
once you get past the top 5 in the AFC, there's a big range of who could be the 6th and 7th teams.
It's likely going to depend on like factors outside the team's control, like some tiebreaker of common opponents, and one of those.
All it's going to take is one dumb injury from one of the assumed top 5 teams, and all of a sudden it could get real crazy.
And because I believe in their coach, I believe in their quarterback. I think by the end of this year, I think Brock Bowers is going to be the consensus best tight end in football, and I think Ashton Genty is going to be a classic like rookie breakout, like rookie running back drafted early, 1,000-yard season out the gate, that kind of back, especially with Chip Kelly as his offensive coordinator. And so when you have a good coach, a good quarterback, and 2 of the best, either the best tight end in football or one of, and like a top 10, 12-ish running back, that's usually what playoff teams have, is they usually have those things. And I understand it's early. I understand that I'm biased because I took Raiders over 6.5 as my very first play of the season. Excellent play. Pete Carroll has not won less than 7 games since 1994. Great stat. And the Chargers and the Broncos, both teams last year, pounced on sub 500 teams for the majority of the year. Almost their only above 500 wins was the Chargers against the Broncos twice, and then the Broncos beating the Chiefs backups in Week 18. So
the biggest one Pete needs to work his magic on is with that secondary, because the front seven for the Raiders is solid. Like there's some legit players, but he's got to work some magic with that secondary because they have a good offense. They don't have like a gunslinging shootout offense. They're going to need some turnovers, some leads, and then let Max Crosby go wreak havoc. But they're not going to come like flying from behind crazy comeback stuff all the time. So Pete's got to work some of that whatever new version of the cover three he's going to figure out. Like, he's got to figure something out with that secondary.
Well, and at the very least, they can do the things that don't lose you games. Like they can limit the number of penalties. They can limit the number of big plays they allowed. Like stuff like that at least gives you a chance to be like
control time of possession.
NFL, which Chip Kelly, I'm sure, will be reinforced about and doing as well. I'm just really high on the staff. And I feel like if we wait a year, it's going to be too late. Like you wait too long, and maybe Chip Kelly's not even there anymore. We'll see. Maybe that's a good like OC forever for Buffalo, because there's other reasons why you wouldn't hire him as a head coach aside from his offensive play calling.
I also think I was comfortable with the Chargers looking good. I don't know that there's any injury that has more cascading impact than non-quarterback than Rashawn Slater. Like what that does. That, like, sure, is it great that you have a guy capable of flipping sides like Joe Alt to go back to his natural position? Yeah, but now you don't have a right tackle, and your interior was already a huge question. So now you have one good offensive lineman instead of two good offensive linemen. And, like, you didn't really replace Joey Bosa on, and that Khalil Mack had an awesome year last year, but is now another year older. And I think that they're a sneaky, strong suspicion of being that fourth team in the AFC West, and I think it's going to finish Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders, Chargers, and I think three teams make the playoffs.
And I think because especially Jim Harbaugh, who I respect a lot, like in this division, it almost doesn't matter. It's like one of Jim Harbaugh, Pete Carroll, Sean Payton, or not Andy Reid, but you get the point. Like one of those teams will.
One of those four amazing coaches is going to miss the playoffs and probably have a losing record.
And like, sure, the easy thing to do is like, okay, well, the Raiders were the worst of those four teams last year, and it's new, so let's just safely put them fourth because of all those variables. And I'm going to stick my neck out a little bit. Like, no, like let's put the Chargers down there because they had a devastating injury to the identity of the team, and I think and
now Trey Pipkin's going to have to play 17 games.
And I understand it because my team has the same problem where like we'll get it with the Dolphins. Where like there's draft picks that Chris Greer cannot give up on. Like when they don't hit, he just can't help it. He'll give them every chance after chance after chance because it's his reputation on the line, etc. This insistence. I know they drafted Trey Harris, but I have a feeling that we're going to be seeing Quentin Johnson out there for the majority of the season, getting targets in high-level situations. And then when the drops come or when the lack of separation on 3rd and long comes, like it's going to be a reflection of
how much of an admission was it already going to grab Keenan Allen back?
Yes. And Keenan Allen is one of those dangerous progress stoppers because I noticed this in Chicago last year.
Mike Williams, who retired.
Well, yeah, because Keenan is going to get the ball because he's going to be open a lot, but he's going to be open in lower leverage situations.
He's that new Zach Ertz of like you could run those things of what was the account of did Zach Ertz break a tackle, and you go to the website and it just says no. in big letters. Yeah, Keenan Allen's that now.
Yeah, so I'm lower on them. And Denver, I do think Denver's good. I do think the hype's gotten a little out of control, but I do think they're good. They also didn't beat a team with a winning record last year. I understand that their defense was the best in the NFL last year. I understand that they have the best cornerback room in football. Better. It's gotten better, and their offensive weaponry has gotten better.
And Hufanga.
So I totally see the sides of optimism, but this team has not showed well in their games against elite teams in the AFC. And my team is constantly bullied for this. So if we're going to take that shit, I'm going to apply that standard to everybody else.
Fair. I'm the exact same with the Broncos and the Patriots. Like I see what everybody else sees. Just settle down. Yes. Like I see it too. Like there's reasons to be excited, but take a breath. Like settle down.
And
my thing, I'm going to say this with Denver because I remember Big Rat and I did a show last year where they were playing the Baltimore Ravens and they opened up as like -9.5. The Ravens did. And you basically came on and said, that's an indicator that the sportsbook think that they're going to get their ass kicked. And I think they lost like 41-10 that Sunday or something like that. I think Denver's that kind of game where if they get into low scoring games, their defense will hold it in. I just don't know if they're that kind of team that if you get to a shootout with a team that's better than you, can Bo Nix keep up? I like their off weapons. It's just, and like I know Sean Payton's a great coach, but I just I need to see Bo Nix go out there and have a track record of beating really good teams. like when you play the Chargers, like the Raiders, the Chiefs.
Well,
Week 17, Chiefs Broncos
like
is
in
a
the playoff
prime.
game with the Bills,
Yeah.
where you go up 7-0 and everybody's excited, and then the other team rattles off 31 consecutive points, and you
They
lose 31.
pissed down their leg. They pissed down their leg in that game. Good Lord. I thought Detroit Franklin touchdown. I'm like, oh, but Denver. And I'm like, oh, Denver.
I do love Ben Solak said this, and I do agree. And I think it's one of the best points he made all summer. Sean Payton can say all the fuck he wants in the media about Bo Nix. Sorry, Griff. You're trying to calm down on that. Sean Payton can say everything in the media about Bo Nix. The majority, he gets more passes behind the line of scrimmage than any other quarterback in football. Their yards off screens is amongst the highest in the NFL. Like, if Sean Payton really believes that Bo Nix is a top 10 level quarterback, why does he not call plays like that? Why does he call plays like a mediocre quarterback that needs to be protected? He was a rookie. I'm not saying that this is his inevitable thing forever.
We'll know quickly this year if he really believes him in or not.
So Chiefs are still the Chiefs. I think this is the best receiving talent they'll have had on pay. I know Rice got suspended, but having a second year of Xavier Worthy, I do think Xavier Worthy did start to find something as the year went on. I think people
Hollywood Brown too.
Well, yeah, sure. If he could stay healthy, and people have it in their heads, the Xavier Worthy like incompletions early in the season, and they got out of control, and it was too much, and his target to catch ratio was horrible. I understand all those things. Maybe I'm overreacting to the Super Bowl after I started the show by saying don't overreact to the Super Bowl, but I do think that he got better and better as the season went along, and I do think that there's more there that we've seen. So I think that and Rice, I think will make a difference this year.
Yeah, and I mean it's hard because I do think there's obviously a lot of exciting things to look at. I'm torn on Xavier Worthy because I know I've just gotten into it with enough
Bills,
enough Chiefs fans that like, hey, I get it. Like there's reason to be excited, but you do understand that when it was 34-6,
yes,
he had 2 catches for 17 yards.
Correct. And he finished the game with 150.
And like, then when the Eagles were like trying to figure out which color Gatorade to dump, like then yes, he did some stuff while nobody was actually watching the game anymore. Like I get it that at some point he did some cool things later on, but like literally like more than half the stats were, not joking, after the Eagles put their backups in the game. Like literally the starters were no longer in the game, but the Chiefs fans are like, oh my God, look what he did. I'm like, they pulled their starters from the game. They were up 34-6. Like, what are you talking about? Anyways, I am terrified of you guys don't think I'm good anymore season from Patrick Mahomes. Like, I don't think he all of a sudden got bad. I do think that they had the slowest backfield in NFL history last year. They were depending on Kareem Hunt and the shell of what an out of shape Travis Kelce was, which, if anything, at least he's like thinner and more in shape this year. We'll see. He's still age wise. We'll see what he has left. But I do think I think that because of them being back to back and going for the 3P, and they had such a none of this stuff matters. All that matters is the playoffs and winning in the playoffs, and like none of this stuff during the regular season matters. That I actually think it was bad news for the rest of us that they got shellacked like that in the Super Bowl, and now all of that's gone, and that now there's you want to know what? F you guys. Like that, and that. Dude, Mahomes still has a cannon. Like, he's still unbelievable. And that if they now have some incentive to do that and to go put it on teams like that more, as far as all that goes, like from you guys have mentioned fantasy football a couple times, I think like there's a sneaky good chance that he has one of those awesome 45 touchdown seasons again. So we'll see. I think there's still some questions there. I do think that on paper, I think the Ravens and the Bills are a half notch ahead of them. Like if I had to rank it, I would rank them third on paper. But they also have an unimpeachable resume that when it matters, they're unbelievable. So what is it? It doesn't matter who's first, who's second, who's third, because they've found a way to do, like, the Bills have beat them 5 times in the regular season. So it's not like this idea that they can't be beaten. Of course they can. I've literally seen it 5 times. I've seen them beat them 5 times. It's just when it matters, they find a way. And yes, it's by one possession every single time. It's always right there in these incredibly painful ways, but they find a way and they continue to do it. And until you stop them, you have to believe they'll do it again.
When they flipped the switch to win the Super Bowl in 2023, a big part of that was how Rashee Rice played in those playoffs. Though, not even just talking the Super Bowl, the whole thing, like start to walk around on. Go those games, the first 3 games last year before Rashee Rice got hurt. And then that offense is different than the offense you saw all of last regular season and the regular season before. And
when they get Pacheco back, or if they have Pacheco healthy and get Rice back from suspension, if they keep Brown, Worthy, the other pieces, they're healthy around it, they get whatever's left of Kelsey here. We'll see on the offensive line. I'm still not 100% sold, but it seems like Simmons is a pretty legit solution there. I know there's obviously health concerns, and you never know how that's going to go. But if he's legit, like, I really think they could get back to what we use. Like, I think that this last season and a half kind of lulled us to sleep on what that offense can still be.
And Xavier Worthy is not going to be the number 1 going against Eagles backups throughout the regular season. He is the second option, with Kelsey still wreaking the zones over the middle. I think the core is just more complementary now. I think Kelsey being deprioritized relative to those two, but in an area of the field that will still be open, I think is going to make them really hard to defend. So, yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to have their best regular season in God knows how long, and I think they finally lose in the playoffs. But we'll talk about that at the end. Not to your team.
So my thing with Kansas City is just my only qualm with Mahomes, and this is nothing. This is, I'm going to do a big rat's been doing, but with Patriots, because we saw when Brady got older, he found new ways to reinvent himself and get better. Mahomes is going to be 30, so that's the only question I have. He cut his hair, but and I'm not. This is not me shit talking him. I just wonder, how do you respond? Because and teams finally saw this too. Hey, to beat them, you got to punch them in the mouth and just not stop. You got to, just continue to punch them. Just do not let them get back up. Do not let them breathe. Their defense is still unbelievable. You have dogs at every single position in there. I'm a huge George Karlaftis fan as well. An offensive line, Creed Humphrey, best center in football. If not him, probably Linderbaum in Baltimore. But my big question for them, and also I think, I was joking with Travis Kelce point of the rings. Obviously, he got engaged. They got engaged a couple weeks ago, but it was public this week. My big thing for him, though, is now for them after this year, because I feel like this is it for Kelce, considering he's going to be 36, unless he's just continues to keep coming back and back. This seems like it's it.
He's all but said
what
that this. Yeah.
And he did I mean, they're engaged already, like, so the wedding's going to happen. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
He might not say it out loud to everyone, but I would guess he even tells the team at some point.
Yeah. But they also have a documentary on ESPN/Disney Plus that's about last season, but it goes like well into the history too of like the team and Lamar Hunt and the founding of the AFL. I recommend it. I'm actually really enjoying it. Minus the radio guy being a huge homer, but radio announcers are allowed to do that. My big question for them is just, how do you bounce back from adversity? But I could still see that too, where, and also not even adversity, but some of those regular seasons where you were pulling rabbits out of your ass, not go your way. I've learned this, like with the Pats, like they would have all these great regular seasons, fall flat on their face in the playoffs, kind of like what the Chiefs did in the Super Bowl. So I think, if you lose the game to Denver where the kick you don't block the kick. Vegas doesn't have a botch snap on Black Friday. Isaiah Likely's foot is in bounds. Atlanta doesn't let you call the game against Atlanta. Atlanta gets the defensive pass interference call that would have put them in position to win. Because as I'm watching that show back, Carolina had them on the ropes last year. The Carolina Panthers, who, there's a lot of teams who did. There's only a handful of teams that they went out there and just outright smoked. So I just think that they need to have some of that adversity, because I think they thrive when people doubt them. Think about it. When everything's going great, when everything's going fine, they're just like last year, hey, just get to February, three-peat, they fell flat on their face. I feel like the second the Cooper DeJean pick six happened, that game was over. So I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be great. It's just, like I said, Mahomes with age, just because we all know that as people that are all over the age of 30, that the human body does not work the same once you turn 30. What was simple to do in your 20s ain't simple to do when you're in your 30s. And I'm 31 and I've already learned that lesson the hard way. But, so that's all I say with him. But I also, one thing to do, because I know Greg's a salary cap whiz, the contract they gave Kelsey is something they don't usually do in the NFL. It was kind of like the gold watch of contracts, where it's like, thank you for your service, because he's still getting, I think, like $25 million a year as a tight end. So Kansas City, like, that's the big question for me, is not how are they this year? How are you next year when Travis Kelce's no longer there? When you lose a Hall of Fame player, how do you adapt and replace that? That'll be the question. But for this year, I think it's the same old. It's just a matter of, does the AFC championship streak come to an end, or do they run the table again and they're the team that, we can't, they can't keep getting away from this, as Big Rat famously said on the show.
The amount of investment they've made with the other pieces, they're going to be in pretty good shape to be able to surpass it. But it's still a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. You don't replace that. AFC East, New York Jets. I asked Danny, do you have anything to say? Just say Danny knows they will be terrible and is not looking forward to the season. LOL. That's all he has to say about it.
So I will say
I like what they're doing, but I like
the
Aaron
worst
Glenn
thing I
hire,
can say for Danny is I think Aaron Glenn, that defense, and oddly the offensive line they invested in, are going to be too good to get them the number one pick. I think they're going to be bad, but also I'm certain they're going to ruin somebody else's season and win 5 or 6 games. Like, I think their over under is right there. And that, like, I don't see any scenario where this is like a 2-15 team. And I think that you could see some really ugly stuff from New Orleans, from Cleveland, from Indy, from, just some different really poor teams where things could just go really sideways. I think Aaron Glenn's a really good coach. I think there's a lot of talent on that defense. They spent well in putting this offensive line together, and that, again, Breece Hall's had trouble staying healthy, but I think they're going to lean on Braylon Allen a lot, and I think that they're going to end up being okay in that they'll have a handful of 16-9, 16-13 games where all of a sudden the Broncos are trying to figure out how the hell are we losing to the Jets. But you get the wrong turnover and then you just can't catch up because their defense is legit and Glenn is a damn good coach. And I think they're going to be bad, but not bad enough to get the quarterback they need. So we'll see where it goes. I think they have a very defined window of it's going to be 5 to 7 wins. Like I think it's a very defined window of what their team's going to be.
And watch. That was great. Like I couldn't. You said basically everything I was going to say. All I'll add is watch that quarterback situation there, because I have some. Like I know Danny's heard the same things I've had. Like I've just reading some Jets beat writers, and there's a lot of Antoine Staley used to cover the Dolphins routinely, and now he covers the Jets for I think the New York Daily News. And so Antoine is still very much like a Miami media guy. So a lot of our guys get a lot of information from him as well. And you do start to get some smoke that New York might not want to play Justin Fields the whole year, that there might be other quarterbacks on the team that they think can run the offense better. And this is not because of his preseason stats. It's just he plays nothing like Jared Goff. He's not on time. He doesn't throw to the middle of the field. He doesn't go under center very often. It's a completely foreign thing. And Tanner Engstrom might just want either someone whether it's Adrian Martinez or someone like Tyrod, who Tyrod is sure, I guess, stylistically similar to Fields, but he's just older. He just knows football better. And maybe
he's incredibly accurate and he doesn't turn the ball over.
And the low
all the things that there was a lot of analytics darlings who would get mad at Bills fans because
he nearly beat the Bills last year.
He looked fantastic. And I would always argue because there's not a stat for the guy 15 yards down the field you refused to throw the ball to on 3rd and 12, and you took the check down because you didn't want to throw an interception, and you took the check down and we gained 8 yards on 3rd and 12, but there was a guy 15 yards down the field that had an opening and you wouldn't throw him the ball. like there isn't a stat for that, but that's a ceiling stat. Like that's not going to matter. Like being able to stay on time, don't turn the ball over, punt it, don't throw an interception. Tyrod's much better suited for that. Like I would not be shocked if Justin Fields is not the 17-game starter.
And Justin Fields is like, I understand that he had the famous, it's now become famous, like the 4-2 season in Pittsburgh, but like in Chicago,
the reason they benched him.
And in Chicago, like that team was just never win when Fields was the quarterback, even when the defense was playing well. Like, and I understand like, but like, how this works when these bad teams spiral and it's December, you do start to wonder, hey, is it worth it to just get another quarterback in here just to spicing things up, looking for a spark, all this other stuff? Like maybe, like, I don't know. Like I get that vibe that they're not too happy with how the Fields experience has gone. And maybe I'm crazy. Maybe he'll play all 17 games, but I don't know. Something seems wrong.
They're the kind of team where it's like Cleveland, where it's like, I will see you in 2027, maybe 2026 if the cards fall their way. Yeah. They do have a tank bowl game week 16. They go to New Orleans to play the Saints. So, which I don't know when the Dolphins play the Saints, but I know Greg plays them pretty early on, and then then the Patriots go to New Orleans week 6. But no, like the Jets, like I like what Darren Bougie and Eric Glenn is doing. It's just like what Cleveland's going through right now. It's like what Detroit first went through. It's going to take some time. It's going to be growing pains. It's not going to be a fun season. But if they can have a couple rookies this year, like kind of show some stuff for the players we're not expecting to do anything, do stuff, I think that's the win for them.
Bills.
I'm gonna actually. No, I was gonna.
Go for it.
You know what? I'm gonna say this right now, because I have a question for Big Rat before I go on my little thing. Are vibes off with the Dolphins right now? Because I'm kind of getting that with Miami, where it's like the vibe's not there, but then also too, I remember last year I brought up the hot seat stuff, but then contract extensions kick in. So my whole question just for Miami this year is just, and like also to the Tyreek Hill stuff's weird. The defense is just like hey, Jack Jones is a cornerback. Russell Douglas is there. Matthew Judon, just grabbing all the AFC East castaways that you can. So my big question is just, what's the vibe with the team and just the overall, like, is there stuff that is going on in South Florida that, the rest of the nation's not really, aware of?
I mean, the Dolphins have become a national punching bag this summer. Like it is everywhere you go, everyone's like saying the same things and everyone thinks they're saying a novel thought. Can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everyone thinks they're saying something novel. Everyone thinks they're saying something edgy and cool. Like, Tyreek Hill might request a trade by week 4. Is Mike McDaniel going to lose the locker room? It's like everyone thinks they're saying something novel, but then everyone is saying the same thing. It's like when someone says, I think so-and-so is underrated, but then that becomes the repeated line. Then they're not underrated anymore. That's what the common discourse is. Everywhere I look, everyone is predicting this team to just fall apart, to have some sort of revolt inside the locker room against the head coach because all the veterans left. Jalen Ramsey wanted a trade. No qualms here. He and McDaniel do not get along. McDaniel jokes about everything in this press conference. McDaniel does not want to talk about Jalen Ramsey. Like, shuts it down anytime someone asks in a very stern way that is not Mike McDaniel-like. I can't explain it. I can't get into those guys' heads. I don't know why they don't like each other. But yes, that is true. That veteran wanted to leave. Teron Armstead retired. Teron Armstead goes to every Dolphins practice. Teron Armstead goes to their joint practices in Chicago and talks about it on his podcast and has Dolphins players on his podcast. Teron Armstead loves the Dolphins still. Calais Campbell went to the team that drafted him that gave a 38-year-old a $7 million a year contract. Like, what are we doing here? These circumstances are not all the same. And guess what? Tyreek Hill is still on the team. Drew Rosenhaus runs the Miami Dolphins. You all may think that Drew Rosenhaus has clients on your teams. No. Drew Rosenhaus is a Dolphins fan. Drew Rosenhaus lives in Miami. He goes to every Dolphins game. I went to a training camp practice and I saw him in the bleachers right next to me. Drew Rosenhaus represents tons of Dolphin players and gets his guys in and out of Miami over the years. Tyreek Hill is a Drew Rosenhaus client. If Tyreek Hill wanted to be traded, Drew Rosenhaus would make that happen. Like, Tyreek Hill wants to get paid. Tyreek Hill definitely said something stupid at the end of last year, and definitely Tua can very easily just go to the media and say everything's fine, stop asking about it, but he can't help himself. and he gives some long soliloquy about how they're not personality compatible anymore and how something's off and the vibes are weird and they need to work on their chemistry. Like, very clearly, those guys just don't fuck with each other anymore for whatever reason. But Tyreek Hill wants to get paid. Tyreek Hill's 2 best years of his career were both in Miami, not in Kansas City. And they traded Jonnu Smith in part because they wanted to stop funneling so much of the offense through him, and they wanted to get back to running the offense through the wide receivers with just better 11 personnel around them. So, yeah, the Tyreek Hill vibes are off. Yeah, McDaniel might not be good at this, but the talent's pretty good. And I don't know how many games Tua is going to play. How are we supposed to talk about that? And how am I supposed to predict whether it's 8 or 10 or 12 or 17? I have no fucking idea. How does anyone have any idea? What I do know is that this team is terrible when he doesn't play. And I told you guys this on the show last year, and I made it very clear last year. It's almost like Tua has to get hurt again for everyone to realize that the rest of this roster isn't as good as you guys think it is. And sure enough, they are number 1 in the NFL in EPA per play since 2022 when Tua's in the lineup. They are dead last when he's not on the field. Dead last. This is something that Greg's Bills fans would use to prop up Allen's MVP conversation if this ever happened to him. Like, oh, you see, we're the best offense in football with Josh Allen. And without Josh Allen, we're nothing because Josh Allen is everything. That's these arguments that Bills fans would make with those splits. I am not saying Tua is actually the most valuable quarterback in the NFL. I am saying everyone else saying that he was just some cog in the machine. McDaniel, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle averaged 13 points per game when Tua didn't play last year. 13 points per game. That is the worst offense in football, with 2 of the best wide receivers in football and supposedly the genius play caller. If the Dolphins fire McDaniel, you guys will probably say, are the Dolphins really going to have a better offensive designer than McDaniel? The answer is probably no, but that's not the only job.
Correct.
Correct. That's not the only thing he's responsible for. And the team just absolutely quitting when Tua's not in the lineup is a reflection on him too. I'm tired of everyone just saying these backup quarterbacks sucks or Tyreek Hill's a culture-killing asshole. It's on him too. It's on him for just getting everyone to completely abandon the ship like this. And the locker room potentially revolting, potentially. That is a reason to get you fired. Like Chip Kelly eventually soured on the locker room in Philadelphia after being viewed as an offensive genius for 2 years. Like Mark Trestman, old fans may remember that 2013 season. He was viewed as like the next up-and-coming super genius in the NFL. 100%. Next year, lost the locker room. It's not the only part of the job. I like McDaniel. I'm rooting for McDaniel. But basically, when things are going well, the Dolphins will probably win games. Like in September, they will probably go 3-1 because they play the Colts, the Patriots at home. That's the key. And the Jets at home on Monday Night Football. They will lose to the Bills on Thursday Night Football. That's fine.
Is that in Buffalo, by the way, the Thursday nighter, or is it in Miami?
No, it's in Miami.
No, the Week 3 game, it's in Buffalo.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sorry. I just assume it's always September in Miami and end of the year.
Because I remember last year, like there were Dolphins fans who were pissed about that game, and I know, Greg.
No, it's in Buffalo. But the other one, the second game is pretty early for a second division game. It's November 9th in Miami.
To answer both your questions. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Griff, you're cutting out a bit.
The only thing I was going to say is last year, Buffalo, Miami, when Buffalo was plus 2.5, it was like the easiest ticket at cash last year. Sorry, Big Rat. That's for
when things are going well, I'm sure the Dolphins will win. This is the 5th best home team in the NFL over the last 5 years. Like, this is one of the most dominant home teams in football, and like no one knows that because, like, aside from Buffalo, they don't lose in Miami ever. And when things are going well, I'm certain that the Dolphins will play well and do well. But the question is, what happens when Tua has to miss a game? What happens when half the defensive starting lineup is going to be out for a week? What happens when Tyreek Hill only gets 2 targets for 17 yards? What happens when things get hard is something I can't answer you. Because when things get hard, is Tyreek going to complain? Is Mike McDaniel going to lose the locker room? Are guys going to start to tune him out? You already have some people in Miami that want McDaniel to be fired in season, Anthony Weaver to be the interim head coach, and then Anthony Weaver to just be the head coach from there moving forward. And I am excited for this defense. I think most people don't realize that Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, sure, injuries, obviously. They were never on
top in there too.
They were never on the PUP list. They've practiced the whole training camp. Like, I saw someone on Twitter the other day say, okay, they'll be there week 1, but how long does it take for them to ramp up? What ramp up? They've been here the whole summer.
No, I think the defensive line is super underrated with all the pieces up front. It's just, can it make up for Minka and his friends in the secondary?
Can you build an NFL defense in 2025 off 2 high coverage, zone, double teams? Can you build the no cornerback defense? Because they do have the worst cornerback room in the NFL.
I think they, for me, are the anti-Jets, where I said the Jets have the shortest variance of any team in the NFL. I know exactly how the season is going to go. I think so many people are on the downside of the Dolphins. And of course, we know what you just said. If Tua gets hurt early and is going to miss a lot of time, I think there's like that opposite of the Jets. There's a non-zero chance they're in the running for the first pick in the draft because McDaniel's been fired and Tua's gone for the season and shit just goes way off. People are also pretending like it's not possible that they stay healthy, and that if they stay healthy, they can be very explosive and very good. And again, that defense is a problem when you're trying to be balanced and you're not sure what's going on. But if your offense is scoring points and those pass rushers just get to pin their ears back, that can work. Like, it doesn't matter as much because the secondary can all give space and you can just rally and tackle and let the pass rush keep going at them. Like, I don't know what percent of my pie I would put on that, but people are pretending that it's 0 and it's not 0. Like, there is a chance that things go and when I talked about once you get past those top 5 teams in the AFC, like, you could sell me an awful lot of teams that could make it here. And one of the possibilities is the Dolphins stayed healthy. and I do think that it's more likely that the collection of talent and things work out. I think that I was actually a little bit surprised that the Patriots are actually better I was genuinely surprised that the Patriots were better division odds, but ahead of the Dolphins, and had most places I saw like 1 game higher win total. But because I was like, oh, maybe that, but I was like, oh, I didn't realize like that was the default thinking. And I was like, well, like, the roster's better in Miami. Like, on paper, it's better. Like, if you want to tell me that it's a higher likelihood that more of those guys are still there in week 18 in New England than in Miami, okay, I won't argue with that. But this assumption that like it's not possible that guys stay healthy in Miami is like, obviously it's possible. It could happen. So I think there's a lot of variance in how the season could go in Miami, and plenty of them, I'll be honest, I think more than 50% of those outcomes probably are not great. But I don't think it's this like, it's not as decided as what people have made it out to be. And that I think, plenty of Bills fans obviously are like, oh, they're going to be in the running for the number 1 pick. I'm like, well, no, I actually think probably most likely that they're like 9-8 or I think they're going to be pretty good. And yeah, there's probably going to be a 4-game stretch with some injuries, with some really ugly games, and then, but also some like crazy offensive blowouts like they've had in the past. Like, it's weird that I don't think anyone sees that as even possible. Like, of course it's possible.
Well, especially because they've done, we see this all the time in football. When you've done too much of the same without rising to a next level, people start to get tired of you. And we'll talk about it with your team. Like, people bring fired McDermott because it's like, well, it just seems like the same story over and over again. How are we going to improve upon this? And
but I expected more. How did you not exceed my expectations?
And people like it's the kind of funny cycle. It's like people are sick of the Dolphins going 9-8 and losing in the wild card round. They just don't like. I saw even like Derek Clausen the other day, and I like Derek Clausen a lot. He said on the Athletic Football Show, yeah, they may go 10-7 and steal the 7th seed, but like, who cares? And I'm like, for 19 years of my fandom, from 2001 to 2019, Greg, your team made the playoffs once in that whole time period. My team made the playoffs 3 times in those 19 years. And now McDaniel making the playoffs for the 3rd time in 4 years is like some You guys are above this? No, we're not. Why are we just throwing this away? Why are we just throwing 10 wins away? But Denver goes 10-7 and is the 7th seed and gets smoked by the Bills in the playoffs. And they're like a Super Bowl darling because it's newer. You haven't gotten tired of it yet. But to answer your question, well, the very important thing to know about this team, though, is it's the scheduling. Look, the 4 best teams they play, besides Buffalo, they play Baltimore, Tampa Bay, Chargers, Cincinnati. All 4 of those games, all four of those games are in Miami. All 4 of them. When you've seen the Dolphins get humiliated by the top teams in the NFL over the years, you think Packers on Thanksgiving, that was in Lambeau. Houston embarrassing Tua, that was in Houston. The 2-game stretch in 2022 when they lost at San Fran and at Chargers, both those games on the road. All those Buffalo games have been on the road. The Ravens game when Lamar Jackson locked up the MVP and dropped 50 on Vic Fangio's defense, effectively leading to Vic Fangio falling out of favor in Miami. All these games are on the road. They never get embarrassed at home, except by your team, of course. I'm aware of that. But they beat a 12-5 Cowboys team in Miami. These games are just never in Miami. And I'm not saying that means they're not frauds or anything like that, but I am saying it is kind of a buffer when all your easy games are on the road and all your hard games are at home. For any football fan, that gives you the best odds of capitalizing on that schedule because their road games like at Cleveland, at New Orleans, at Carolina, like this is stuff at Colts week 1 with Daniel Jones. They really made out big with the scheduling gods. They have a neutral field game against the Commanders in Spain. There will be way more Dolphin fans than Commanders fans in that stadium. Way more. So going to be closer to a home game. But nonetheless, with the exception of the Buffalo games, they get Baltimore on a Thursday night football game at home too. Like the schedule does break in their favor a little bit this year. But again, how many games is Tua going to play? And everyone's overreacting to the concussions, underreacting to the fact that at the end of the season, he had a hip injury and missed the last 2 games. Like that's like the neon warning sign, red light, like, holy fuck, is his hip hurt again? The concussions, look, man, he was asymptomatic that night. He went to Disney on Ice the next day. The next week, they played the Seahawks, Miami to Seattle, the longest flight in the NFL. He flew to the game and was on the sideline. When he had his concussions in 2022, he couldn't even be on the sideline during home games. And he's flying to Seattle the next week. He was completely asymptomatic. It was because of his history. They felt we have to sit him out 4 games. We have to put him out IR. They'll be at our throats if we don't rest him because it's a concussion on national TV again. But he was fine.
If they can get to that Ravens game in week 9 at like 6-2 or something like that, because like you said, it's a lot of Jets, Panthers, Browns, Falcons, Patriots at home. A lot of very winnable games in that stretch, then it is a tough stretch, but it's 4 straight home games with a bye week in it, where it's home for Ravens, home for Bills, home for Commanders, home for Saints. And getting through that 4-game home stretch, if you could get to the point where you're healthy and have the bye there where you could prove that those home games, really matter like that, that's the non-zero chance that I'm talking about. Like there is a scenario where the way that schedule lines up early, Colts, Patriots, the Bills, it could be a tough game. Jets, Panthers, Chargers at home. And we just talked about the Chargers, Browns, Falcons. All of those games, like 7 of those 8 games are like definitive chances of winning, and it's a home game against the Bills. So like of course there's a shot that you can win that. Like there's a chance. There's a chance.
And they play half their division games in the month of September, where they're most likely to be healthy. And that's half of their division games are in the first 4 weeks. So that'll help them as well. I do think you guys should know about Ollie Gordon. He's a stud. Don't be surprised if Ollie Gordon leads the team. I mean, it's real.
So I will tell you, I knew that because I play in a fantasy football league that Marcel Louis-Jacques is in with a bunch of other media people, and it's a dynasty league, and he reached early for Ollie Gordon, and we were like, you son of a bitch. what do you know that we don't know? And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, you jerk.
Yeah, he may or may not be the best running back on the team. And also people know about Teron Armstead retiring. Patrick Paul as replacement at left tackle. The buzz internally is very strong. And I say this, it's not just from the people that gas up their early round draft pick offensive linemen every year. Like, these are from people who don't normally say these things. Are like, oh, this guy is 6'7" with like a 7'2" wingspan. He is built like a Mack truck. He looks bigger than most NFL offensive linemen, and he can move. He can get out on the run on the outside zone plays that they have. The buzz has been really good internally. We'll see if it translates. It means nothing in August, but there is some hype that the offensive line could be above expectation. The front seven is going to be great when healthy. The cornerbacks are the worst cornerbacks in football. Like, I don't know how many. They're a weird team because you can't predict how many games the quarterback plays, how many games the edge rusher plays, and whether or not the team quits. You can't forecast those things. We'll all just find out.
Since my wonderful team is not the one who won the division last year, obviously we were last place at 4-13. I'm going to give my little spiel on how I feel. Obviously, look, a lot went wrong last year. Greg labeled us as the rodeo clowns, and we kind of were until the Jets showed that they were the true rodeo clowns of the AFC East, even though they finished in third. I will say this right now. I love my quarterback. He's fantastic. I think he's still got some stuff to work on, though. I do think, though, if Drake can get certain mechanics with his game fixed and fine-tuned, that's when he's going to become a problem for the rest of the league and get that like national recognition. So he's still got some work to do. This team offensively, I think, is going to be much better just because, you know, they have a proper offensive coordinator. Last year, Alex Van Pelt was thrown into like the fire. He was thrown into the fire figuratively and literally just to, you know, hey, go make magic with what you have. We've added a great running back in Travion Henderson, who I'm really high on. Obviously, our one new wide receiver, Greg knows a lot about. It's Stephon Diggs. My big concern, though, is the fact that we are only carrying 4 linebackers on the active roster. I really like our front 4, but it's our linebackers and then our DB play, which is still a question mark. I know we have Christian Gonzalez, but there is a chance, Big Rat, I don't think he plays against the Raiders or against Miami just because hamstrings are a really weird and tricky situation. I'm not going to come on here and say this whole, you know, oh, they're going to be back, do what they did in 2021. Obviously, that season, for how it ended for us, was love for Greg. But this is going to be a team where I think you're going to see improvement because, look, they can't get worse. I think they're going to be good. I don't think they're going to be anything to like special or gawk at. I know a lot of people are picking them, you know, oh, the Patriots could be a sleeper. The Patriots could be this or that. I still think they're a 6-8 win team. More, I think, wishful thinking for me is probably going to be like 8-9, 9-8. I think realistically they'll probably 7-10 or 8-9, just because I think there's going to be a couple annoying games. They're going to have some matchups exploited. Like, for example, when we play Atlanta and, you know, Bijan Robinson's doing Bijan Robinson things, or week 1, we play Las Vegas. And I don't know if there's an answer for Brock Bowers on our defense or Ashton Genty as well, because it's pretty much Robert Spillane in coverage being like, hey, you go deal with that. But no, I am excited just because that hopefully for the first time in like 3 years, I can see more than 4 wins in a year. But at the same time, too, this is a team where I want them to be that team at the end of the season. That's kind of like where Detroit was at the end of 2022, where it was, hey, you know, next year's the year you really watch out for New England. This year is about Drake getting better and just, you know, offensive clicking. Like you say, when the offensive line is going to go from like 32nd to like maybe somewhere in the 20s. I love my left tackle, Will Campbell. Jared Wilson is a name I don't think a lot of NFL people are familiar with, but I think he is our center of the future. Garrett Bradbury's there right now, but I don't think Garrett Bradbury's a long-term answer. But the right side of our line is secure, and I love that with Morgan Moses and Michael Wenu. Injuries and stuff will happen. I think this is going to be a team that, hey, if they can, they basically the difference between the Patriots and the Jets is fourth place schedule means that Patriots are playing the Raiders, the Titans, and the Giants. Meanwhile, even though we clowned on them about 2 hours ago, the Jets have to go play the Cowboys, they have to play the Broncos, and they have to play the Colts. Even though we clown on 2 of the 3 teams, I'd still rather play the latter of what the Patriots have to deal with than what the Jets have to deal with. So I think the Patriots are going to be that team where, hey, get a couple surprise wins. Week 5, I want them just to hang in there and kind of do what they did last year on that game, week 16, Greg, you know, where, hey, we got out to a great 14-0 lead, but then the rest of our team said, oh, Buffalo's really good. We're not that good. We actually suck, so we're going to lose this game. if they were to leave that Sunday night football game with like a 1-score loss, I think they get a lot of national respect there. They also are playing a lot more. They didn't have a single. They had one primetime game last year against the Jets, and the game went terribly. This year they have 3 primetime games. For some reason, the Saints is a 4:25 kickoff. I don't know why. I think
two
it's
of
just
them
more
are
about
home
like
games against the Jets and Giants that are like primetime games you should win.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So, you know what? That's pretty much it. That's all I have to say with Patriots. I did my whole Patriots show last night with 2 really good people on here, Sophie McGarvin. If you're a Patriots fan who hasn't listened to that yet, go listen to that one. But yeah, they're going to be a middle of the pack team. They're going to be annoying at times. They're going to be growing pains, and plus, their lack of draft capital the last few years, I think is really going to bite them to where, please, for the love of God, 2025 be a good draft class.
I won't say too much because I'm going to come on with you for our game in 2 weeks. By the way, anyone out there, if like you really do believe the Patriots are going to finish ahead of the Dolphins in the division, bet the points week 2. The Patriots are going to be +3 at Miami. I mean, you think they're so much better? Bet it. Bet it. Put your money where your mouth is. And I will be at that game. I'm excited. So I won't say too much, but I will just say this. 1, the Dolphins are in primetime 6 times this year. 6. The NFL really believes in them. I do not know why. I don't think they deserve it, but just wanted to point that out because Griff mentioned primetime. Last thing I'll say, Griff, Vrabel, and Diggs. Is this, I don't know, like from the outside, it kind of seems like this Diggs thing is weird. Like starting to, like that he's got some weird relationship with the team and with Vrabel, and where's his heart in all this? Like, is there any of that locally, or is that just we're reading it wrong?
I think it's just being read wrong. I haven't gotten it because like I have not the same connection to where I'm playing fantasy football with any of them, but obviously, like I said, I refer to Sophie, who covers the team for Pat's Wire, which is a sub thing of USA Today. I haven't seen any reports of that. We have some excellent beat reporters as well. Like there's another guy in our office named Stretch, which Andrew Callahan of the Boston Herald, who's been a guest on the show before, wrote a really great article about that. Him and Doug Kai do really good coverage. I haven't gotten that vibe. I haven't sensed any of it. I just think with Diggs, I think there's a lot of people who think he's going to come in and pop and, do what Josh in 2020. But we have to remember he's coming off a torn ACL. Those are injuries that, and the recovery's been miraculous. But my big question too is just, and Greg can know this, is what exactly is Matt Collins going to be? Besides the fun Mac hacks and the barefoot stuff, is just, there's not a lot to expect there, but no, to answer your question, I haven't gotten the whole crazy vibe with that, where it's.
I think there's just the nature of he's always going to have interests off the field and other things that he wants to be involved in, fashion and date famous people and, hand out suspicious pink substances on boats to models. That's the life he genuinely is interested in living. And at no point is Mike Vrabel going to be interested in somebody wanting that. But on the field, Diggs has always been a tenacious worker and a pretty consummate professional on the field, even if he does kind of enjoy living that kind of life. And I think that's where most of those comments came from. I think Vrabel was legitimately annoyed that he had to talk about that incident. Yeah. And I think most everything just comes from that, was that he was annoyed that he had to answer questions about that. My biggest, I don't love that. I feel pretty good about how the Patriots have handled their rebuild, that I think that there's a pretty decent chance they've hit on a quarterback here. I do think a lot of people have already decided that he's a special quarterback. And the one thing that makes me concerned is one of the most consistent statistics from college to professional and from early career to late career with quarterbacks is taking sacks. And he does not live to fight another day. He does not have that in him. And of course, that's hypocritical of me because Allen had plenty of that. But Josh Allen is very genuinely like a one-of-one athlete, and Drake May is a really, really good athlete. Drake May is not a one. Drake May is not Cam Newton. Drake May is not Josh Allen from an athletic standpoint. He is like 85% of that, which is still exceptional. But there's a little piece of me that I still need to see, like, hey, you're right. There were a ton of flashes. I saw all the flashes. Also, you only beat the Bears and you won one game in 10 games. Like, the only team you've beaten as a professional quarterback is the Chicago Bears. Like, I think it's more likely than not that Drake May's really, really good. And I see all the flashes. But taking bad sacks is exactly how CJ Stroud's sophomore slump went. It's because he can't stop taking back-breakingly bad sacks on third downs that take you out of field goal range. And I know that play that he could not live to fight another day, and it ended up being the fumble that they lost in the preseason game. That is a super hard, innate desire to unravel and to unlearn and to undo. And that, like, there's just that is a really tough thing to thread the needle on. And that the reason that there are way more Jeff Georges and JP Lossmans and other guys who had an awful lot of the physical skill set and the high level flashes, but couldn't ever translate it, is because they could only believe in their bazooka of an arm and never could learn all the other pieces of when to check down, when to to work on your mechanics. And if anybody's watching the Hard Knocks, like, the one, like, I think there's a lot of aw shucks, like, golly gee stuff with Josh Allen that people think he just kind of like shows up on Sunday and starts slinging that pigskin around. He is a maniacal worker on his mechanics and on his throwing motion and all the things he does, of how he's gotten to be not just a guy who chucks the ball around. And I think there's a chance Drake May is special, but I also think an awful lot of people have just decided he is. And it's not there yet. Like, it's not there yet, and we still need to see some of that progression in decision making.
A lot of
that's
that
why
was in there.
That's why. Sorry to cut big rat. That's why I said, Greg, like, he's got some mechanical issues. I think if he fixes, he could take that level to be. Absolutely. And when I say special, I'm not saying, hey, you're going to be an MVP top 3 quarterback, because, like you said, Josh Allen's 1-1. He's a unicorn, but I think he has a similar potential career.
Like,
he has a similar trajectory where it's, like where we saw year 2, where it's like, hey, if Josh can fix X, Y, and Z, he's going to be special. And Josh fixed that, became more of a pocket passer, stayed, because he just kept running and trying to make plays. He stayed in the pocket and just was a gunslinger. That's when he took off. No, that's my thing with Drake May. Like, I'm not one of those guys saying he's special already. I'm saying he's awesome because he's like the best quarterback we've had since, Tom,
and
but that's
I'm annoyed that you guys have already stumbled into someone who could be special. Like, that's really annoying. Yeah. Like, I'm super annoyed that it's even a possibility that you guys have somebody. I wasn't prepared for, like, how bought in people were already. They're like, oh, no. We're the 2024 Commanders. Like, we've got the guy who's going to do this, and we're going to have the upgrade in coaching, and we're going to add all these, like, floor raising free agents, and we're going to go 13-4 and go to the AFC Championship game. Like, good, settle down. Good Lord. Like,
it's a lot of people outside of Boston that are saying that. Like, most like I said, the past preview show I did last night, a lot of like, we were all saying the same thing, where it's like, hey, 6, 7, 8 wins, probably more like 7, 8, 9. Hopefully, that's what we're going for. Where it's, hey, Drake shows improve. It's like Josh's second year. You know how, like, year 1, I believe what they win 4 or 5 games in 2018. It was something like that. To where then, I'm not saying make the wild card spot, be relevant through November and Thanksgiving and into parts of December. That's what I want. Be a relevant.
I don't think there's literally a single thing that matters other than Drake May's progression. There's literally nothing.
That's literally all I care.
If he shows that he is consistent and reliable, everything else is built around that. It will probably result in some good things for this year. But him being consistent and reliable with the flashes is the whole value and purpose of this year.
Yeah,
Where
because he
are
also
you
hasn't
at?
played on.
Go for it. Go for it.
Go on. I was going to
No,
say
I was
you
just
go. You go.
I was going to ask about Buffalo to move.
You know
This
what?
along.
Yeah, because we've been going long enough, and all of us have early mornings. I want to say a quick thing about Buffalo because I know I always ask, "Oh, what's McDermott's status?" And I had a revelation this past offseason. Who does Buffalo fire that's better than McDermott? And the answer is no one. It's kind of the same thing with Dan Campbell in Detroit. My only question for Buffalo is, can they win a game on their defense? How does Bobby Babich get the defense wired? Because I know there's some questions with not the front four, because I know I saw tweets making inappropriate noises when you see the defensive tackles getting pressure. My question for Buffalo is how does the secondary play go? And can the Bills win a game? Because I feel like whenever the Bills win games, it's always, Josh Allen did this, Josh Allen did that. I want to see the Bills go, hey, they won the game because their defense was fucking awesome. That's what I want to see with the Buffalo Bills in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't think you can see a more direct indication than turning over 75% of your defensive line. Like you brought in 3 free agents and 3 draft picks that are all going to be a bit. You kept Ed Oliver and Gregory Rousseau and turned over just about everybody else on that line. Like Daquan Jones and AJ Epinesa will still play a little bit, but that is a pretty direct indication. You have obviously there's a lot of guys that if you could tell me that Terrell Bernard, Matt Milano, and Taron Johnson were all going to be healthy the whole time, I'd feel really, really good. But some pretty significant drop offs after each of them, and then Christian Benford's awesome. He's fantastic. I think he's one of the most. He's right there with Zach Sealer for like the most underrated players in the division. Like that, he's really, really good. And then I don't know about anybody else in the secondary. Like Taylor Rapp makes a lot of plays. He makes more havoc plays and causes more turnovers than his blown coverages give up. So he's a net positive, but he's still a high variance player. And then we have no idea what Cole Bishop can be. Like that, we're gonna find out because that's our only chance. Like we can't go back into DeMar Hamlin playing, or I'm intrigued by Jordan Hancock, the rookie out of Ohio State, but he's not ready to play either. And I feel good that by the time the playoffs come, Max Harrison will be ready to play, but it's going to be ugly early in the season because Trey White's going to have to play more than we want him to. And Harrison can't be activated off the IR until coming out of that week 4. So that we have a week 7 bye, which means realistically, he's probably not going to play till week 8. Like maybe he plays a little bit week 6, maybe. But we probably don't get to see Max Harrison play until week 8. So I like the idea of having speed and being able to go high variance because that's basically what they did. Hey, let's get the coverage to where Benford and Harrison can play man. We know we might give something up, but just put all the resources in the defensive line and say, yeah, maybe Xavier Worthy gets behind us and gets a step, but you're going to have to take a low percentage shot. You're not going to be able to matriculate the ball down the field. We're going to force high variance where we're either going to get to you or you're going to beat us over the top. And that's the opposite of what the Bills have been forever, where they never give up big plays. Everything's been these bend but don't break drives where it's soul sucking the whole way down and like, oh crap, we got another red zone turnover. And that we're, leading the league in turnover differential every year, which has been more consistent than that stat normally is, but it's no guarantee that it's going to keep happening every year. Like at some point we won't be top 10 in turnovers. Like we genuinely have 5 straight years and it's not supposed to work that way with turnovers. What if this year's the year it's not? Like what if this is the year that some of those tip balls and fumbles don't? And yes, of course, some of that is playing with the lead and teams having to try to catch up. And like there's things that go into there that the offense helps with. But I have concerns over that piece of it, but I'm at least glad that they're trying a higher variance style because we know that McDermott's kind of boa constrictor style works in the regular season. We know that it dominates poor teams. Like we're exceptional against below 500 teams. Like we beat all the teams we're supposed to. We barely ever stub our toe in games that we're not supposed to. But we also know that it has limitations against elite talent and against, franchise quarterbacks and playoff quarterbacks because they are able to make that entire defense is based on getting teams into 3rd and long. Well, when you have really good quarterbacks, it's not that big a deal. And they can convert 3rd and longs, and they do regularly. So I like that we're forcing a higher variance style and at least investing. I don't need all 6 new defensive linemen to work out. I need one of the 3 free agents to work out. I need one of the 3 deep draft picks to work out. So just give me a 33% hit rate and put them with Greg Rousseau and Ed Oliver. Give me some combination of 4 guys on 3rd and 7 against Lamar Jackson in the playoffs, against Joe Burrow in the playoffs, against whatever it might be, and I'll have something here. So obviously it's frustrating to continually be in this position where, of course, we're good enough to win the Super Bowl. Of course, I think we're one of the best 3 or 4 rosters in the NFL. I think Josh Allen is as good as any player in the NFL. I would take him over any other player in the NFL. Of course, Mahomes' resume is inarguably better. I'll still take Josh Allen. Like, I think that he gives his team a better chance to win than any other player in the NFL. It just sucks that we haven't.
What I wanted to ask you, because I watched your post-game show with what's your co-host's name? Aaron,
yeah.
You guys, after the AFC Championship game, you guys looked dead. The color was drained from your faces. And I was curious, because sure, I get it. Devastating playoff loss. So I go and I pull up your old video from Cover 1 after the 13-second game, which in theory is a quote-unquote more devastating loss. I mean, they all suck, but you know what I mean. Yeah. And even though you guys were sad about the 13-second loss, there was just so much more enthusiasm, vigor, like still kind of like adjusting to your life of like, oh man, yeah, it sucks, we lost, but like we have such a fun team, we have such a fun quarterback, we have such a fun organization, we have such a fun life that we get to go through these experiences together. And then here we are in 2024 and everyone was just dead. Like, it looked heartbreaking. And I guess I just asked, go for it.
The biggest piece is you have the spectrum of fans where there's a really small contingent who will try to say that, like, well, obviously Allen isn't as special as you guys are saying because he can't get it done, in these big moments. There's a ton that blame McDermott and that will just say that he's what's holding back Allen from winning. There's a weird amount recently with Brandon Beane that, like, yes, he drafted Josh Allen, but that's hiding all these other faults and bad picks and misses. Again, they'll go to things like Kyer Elam when, like, yeah, he drafted Christian Benford in the 6th round of that same draft. Like, yes, would it have been cool if he picked 2 amazing $20 million cornerbacks in the same draft? Sure, that would have been really cool. But he drafted a $20 million cornerback in that draft. Like, anyways. So I think that moment was the culmination of, whatever you want to call the heart attack for the 50-year-old, the difference of like being forced to face your mortality of, oh my God, that's 4 playoff losses to the Chiefs. Are all those yahoos that I argue with right about McDermott or right about Beane? Or again, they're not right about Josh Allen. Like,
letting the intrusive thoughts win.
Like, yeah, it's just, that's what that moment is just that forced reality of like, oh my God, I really wanted to shut those people up just to move on, because I inarguably think they're capable of going to the Super Bowl and capable of winning the Super Bowl. And I think it's silly to say, like, the people that, like, well, they're never going to win while McDermott's the coach or while Beane is the GM. Well, that's dumb. Like, they could have already won now. And that, yes, they haven't. But, again, all those other one-off, if this happened, if that didn't happen, hell, the entire Patriots run is filled in both directions with the insane helmet catch and the Mario Manningham down the corner sideline throw, just like the ridiculous Vinatieri kicks and the
28-3.
the tuck game, the 28-3, like after Julio caught that ball on the sideline, I was certain that they, like, there's so many of those just the other direction. It's just the way this game works. Like, it's just the way that, that it's a way that this stupid single elimination game with an oblong football with 22 guys on a field at the same time, weird shit happens. And that I have to trust that if you keep banging on that door, at some point the weird shit's going to happen for us. Like, I just have to trust that that's the case. And that, we'll keep going at it. And I have admitted to people that yes, there is a limit. Like, at some point, am I okay with needing to make a change for change's sake, even if there isn't the 4-12 Andy Reid season in Philadelphia? Like, sure, I don't know what that limit is. I'm not at that point, but I'm open to the idea that maybe at some point it just needs to be a different voice. But I sure would love it if they could figure out a way to get me one before I die here.
Well, because you
The
guys, I was just gonna say the interesting thing is it does seem like the defense is consistently getting gashed in these losses.
Yeah.
And with the Ravens, sometimes it was Lamar played bad. This last game, I actually think Lamar played well, despite the 2 early turnovers. Because
just two really dumb plays. That the interception was legitimately bad. The fumble was just dumb luck. Like, he was trying to keep a play alive that he pulls off, 49 times out of 50, and that, like, that one, he just went to catch his balance and lost the ball as he was going. Like, it just was dumb luck in the way that they did it. But thank God for him, Mark Andrews took all the attention off him.
And everyone focuses on the drop as if Mark Andrews' fumble isn't like by far the more impactful play in the whole game.
Yeah, the drop was to tie the game. And, like, again, I'm not gonna, it's no different than me, like, talking about the Chiefs stuff. Like, yeah, you guys were gonna tie the game.
You still
and Josh Allen had 2.5 minutes in 2 timeouts. Like, you think he wasn't going to get a field goal drive? Like, sure, okay, yes, you would have tied the game, and I would have been stressed. But, like, Josh Allen had 2.5 minutes and 2 timeouts. Like, settle down. Like, it wasn't. Mark Andrews didn't drop. Like, it wasn't like a 1-point game with 4 seconds left, and, like, if he catches it, you go up by 1 and you win. Like, it was to tie the game, and we were probably going to win in regulation.
And so I agree with you that I wouldn't fire McDermott, but I just do wonder. I think the reason people say this about, like, enough's enough, change for change's sake, it's because you guys lose the same way every time. And maybe it's not. Maybe it's just giving up, like, have a completely different design of the defense, like kind of like Nick Sirianni style. We're still going to leave you as the head coach, but you are, like, not allowed to touch the offense or the defense anymore. And you're just going to do the CEO stuff, and we're going to give your coordinators all the power because we just don't trust you to get involved on the offensive or defensive side of the ball. Maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's something like a better roster, a better D-line. Like, how do you
say I'm open to the idea. I don't think this is true, but I'm open to the idea that he is more of a culture changer and foundation builder than a champion. Like, that he's who New Orleans would need next year. He's who Cleveland would need. Like, that he can come in and raise the floor of a franchise and, like, make anyone a competent, successful, or he is one of those, like, annoying taskmasters, a guy that you would never want to be your boss, but is, like, super detail oriented and on top of everything. Like, he's aware of everything that happens in that building, in that organization, every single coach, every single position. And is, like, he's the kind of guy, I joke all the time, like, I would never want to work for him, but I'm really glad he's the coach of my favorite team. And that maybe there's a limit to that. Like, I think that maybe there is a limit to that of where it can take you. But I also think he's a very good coach. Like, I think I think he's way more flexible than people realize. He's evolved and changed a lot of things in the defense specifically, and what he's let Bobby Babich take over in the defense. And he's way more aggressive offensively than people will. Like, the stuff that he's allowed them to do, like, we go for it on 4th down the second most of anybody else of what's there. All the things we're constantly at the top end from an analytics standpoint of 2-point conversions, timeout usage, all the other things you measure in coaching. He's consistently, matter of fact, there's a couple metrics that have him as the highest net positive EPA coach in the league, like literally number one. In like timeout usage, all the things that coaches have influence on 2-point conversion decisions, those kind of different things where he has a choice of what to do, when to go for it on fourth down, when not to, when to kick, when to punt. So like I think there's enough positive things there, but again, ultimately it's a results oriented game, and that if you have an MVP quarterback, you're supposed to win a Super Bowl, and he hasn't.
Well, but the interesting thing, but separate from what you think should happen, forget the 7-9, forget the 4-12, because your guys' standard of success is so high. You set yourself up to where like a wild card round loss as the 3 seed to the 6 seed, could that get him out? Even I know you don't want it. I'm saying
it would. So let's say that happens this year. Let's say they go in, they're the 3 seed, they lose to the Raiders in the at home in the wild card round. The fans would be apoplectic. The radio station would be losing its mind. Everyone would be certain that he's going to get fired, and there's almost no chance Terry Pegula would do it. Like Sean McDermott has helped make Terry Pegula so much money, and to build this new stadium and all the other pieces that go with it, I think it would legitimately put pressure. And the first time it would be a real hot seat, like not a fan created Twitter hot seat, not a radio station hot seat, like a real, like I think more genuinely what you've got in Miami, like we're like, hey, no, like this is real now. Like, hey, there's been chatter before. No.
This is real.
You got to produce. Like you have to produce right now, and if you don't, everybody kind of understands like you will not survive this. Not only will you not get anything extended, you won't survive the season. You have to show results as the year goes. I think it would turn into one of those. We're like, all right, hey, we appreciate everything you've done. That's been great. That is not good enough. That is not up to the standard. And now he would have for the first time a genuine, real hot seat where if, God forbid they started 2-4, even 3-3, like where the Bills standard is, and all of a sudden it's 3-3, and like, oh my God, Sean McDermott's been fired going into week 7. I think it would be that next year when that would happen. I don't think, short of literally not making the playoffs with a healthy Josh Allen. That's the only thing. That's the bar. Like if you somehow miss the playoffs with a healthy Josh Allen, that means you've lost the locker room. You've lost the team, and other things would lead to, because I don't think that could happen without weird shit happening somewhere else because you've lost the team. I think it would take something like that for it to be a genuine topic. But I could see a painful flame out this year starting a genuine hot seat for the first time, not a fan created one.
Is the Keon Coleman
the other
stuff
thing?
Oh, sorry, Greg. I keep cutting Griff off. I'm so sorry. Just last.
No, it's just fine. We're having a good conversation.
Yeah, I
have been very, I'm a homer like anybody else. I already own a Deion Walker jersey. It's like it's not even a joke. He was not my choice. Like I wanted Lad McConkey pretty bad. He was not my choice. I actually am not that big of a fan of Xavier Worthy, so that one annoys me. I was not sold, like, because I believe very much in separation. Is the separation is the number one thing. If you get open, everything else is secondary after that. So a guy who you have to be T. Higgins or Mike Evans to not rely on separation, like you have to just have an incredibly special skill set. It's just really rare. There's way more N'Keal Harry's in that. There's way more of those kind of guys that are like, oh yeah, that could have been cool, but you can't get open, and it just doesn't matter. If you can't get open, nothing else really matters. I will say, with all that said, I think people mistake that he doesn't have elite footwork and elite route running to create separation turns into he's not a good athlete. No, he's actually an exceptional athlete, and like is between the legs dunks and like insane athleticism explosion wise, and like his vertical and broad jump, and that translates and shows when you're going up over Tyreek Woolen to catch jump balls in the end zone to catch a touchdown over a 6'4" cornerback. Like, that's real. And now what I did not anticipate happening was Josh Allen. So it doesn't really matter what I believe. Josh Allen believes it's real because he is throwing him an unbelievable amount of these balls and believes in him and trusts him and is consistently doing that. That's where the drumbeat's coming from. And if Josh believes that and Josh is going to feed him, that's what actually matters for those. Because like T. Higgins isn't if you go look like their height, their arm length, their 40, their even that both of them were awesome in the miles per hour in the gauntlet drill versus what the 40 was, like their play speed versus their others. They were both the 33rd pick in the draft. Like, there's actually like a weird amount of parallels between T. Higgins and Keon Coleman of what's there. And the reason T. Higgins works is Joe Burrow thinks he's going to come down with every single one of those balls. So he throws him a ton of them and just believes inordinately that, like, it's fine, T's going to get it. And that if Josh Allen starts to do that, shit, I don't know. maybe this will work. It is gonna go that way. So I did not have that in the range of outcomes here. So I still think Khalil Shakir, even Josh Palmer, honestly, is going to be a much more consistent part of the passing game. But if you told me that Keon Coleman had 58 catches for 950 yards and 11 touchdowns, I'd be like, yeah, that's possible. Like, the James Cook doesn't have 16 rushing touchdowns again. It's because when we get to the 5-yard line, Josh just throws it up to Keon and he goes and gets it.
Yeah.
Like, I think that is possible. I don't think that he's going to turn into I don't think he's a 1,500-yard guy. I don't know if he's a 1,200-yard guy, but there's a chance he is our red zone answer and our red zone target, because he's been doing that to everybody. We'll see.
Yeah, the only things I would say is just, well, for one, Terry was brought in to run a football team and dismantle a hockey team, but that's another story for another day.
So the reason I use that a ton for the careful what you wish for with these other fans, because I tell them, like, hey, Terry Pagula did not make some savvy hiring decision. He stumbled ass backwards into Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane, and they have saved him from himself. Because you want to know how I know that? Go look at everything he's done down the street. Like, they fell ass backwards into these two guys who are like-minded, and thank God, like anything else in football, they pick the right quarterback, and that's made everything else okay. And it's covered up for mistakes by McDermott, bad picks and bad signings by Beane, but they've also made a bunch of other really good decisions and really good signings and picks. And those three together, Allen, McDermott, and Beane, have saved Terry from himself. And the odds that you think he's going to fire those guys and magically stumble into another amazing hiring decision, history would tell you he also fell for Rex Ryan before he gave Beane and McDermott this job. So I am very, very leery to put my eggs in the basket. Oh, don't worry, Terry will just pick the right guy next.
And obviously, it's more or less it was until health stuff came and that Ken was running hockey operations, which, look, like Big Red, the hockey stuff can just be that could be another whole other episode as someone who lives very close to and pays a lot of attention to the Sabres and everything that goes on there. It's basically it's literally the New York Jets of the NHL. That's all I'm going to say there. The only thing I'll say with the Super Bowl pressure, I think, because obviously, look, it's almost 12 o'clock and we all have to Greg and I gotta be up early. Is there going to be more pressure to win once the new building opens, or do you think the new building is more a reward for a reward for everything that's done? Because obviously it's different moving into a new building when the team's bad versus to where the Buffalo Bills are now.
I think a lot of people outside of Buffalo don't realize how much Bills fans hate the current stadium. Like, it's way outdated. It's way. Now, there's there's a nostalgia about it. There's a ton of memories of great moments
gonna
and
miss
things
it?
like that. But anytime, there's piss troughs. Like it's hard to go someplace where
I've used those.
stand shoulder to shoulder with your friends and piss into a trough together. Um, so like there's a lot of memories that I will miss, but it's a terrible. It's like when you go to like a bad old college stadium somewhere. It just has no like. So as you travel around to go to other places, you're like, oh my god, this is so nice. Like they actually have like a normal amount of toilets for the amount of people that are here. Like there's more than 4 places to get a slice of pizza or a hot dog. Like it's just so outdated. So just anything compared to what we have now is going to be feel miraculous and wonderful and amazing. And you know, it's also going to be Josh Allen's age 29 season. So we still have like I've always said like, hey, we're not going to have a Brady run with Josh Allen here. The style of play that he has and just the way that he recklessly throws his body into guys, we're way more likely going to have like a Roethlisberger ending to this than we're going to have a Brady ending to this. But we still got another good 5 years of prime Allen to mess with here in the new stadium before things could start going awry. So it's going to be fine. There'll be nostalgic pieces of it, but people are going to get over it real fast when you go into a nice modern stadium.
It's
Are you
it's one
enjoying
of those things.
Go for it. No. I've
I
cut
was
you
gonna
off.
say it's one. I was just all good. I was just gonna say it's one of those things because we're Big Rat. For those Big Rat, Greg obviously knows this person I'm gonna be talking about, but there is someone from Buffalo who comes on. Joe Miller, by the way, Greg. And I've always asked him just about like the stadium and all that stuff, just because those like when stadiums get built, it always intrigues me. And also for some reason, I've landed in the Facebook rabbit holes of the Bills, like when their fans basically posting, "Hey, here's where my season tickets are," and then that irritating video when they press the shout button for when they select their season seats for the new stadium, but that's just because of the team I cheer for. But he basically told me that apparently what happened was they could have done like a revamp of the stadium similar to what the Dolphins did. Older stadium, pump like 400 or 500 million into it.
Yeah,
But apparently
Arrowhead, Soldier
it was
Field,
more
lots
money.
of other examples.
Arrowhead's another story on its own, because Clark Hunt's a cheap bastard. Basically, it was going to cost more money, and it was also would just completely screwed up the stadium to do that to Highmark Stadium. So they said, "Hey, we're going to build a new one across the way."
They would have had to have They would have legitimately had to have played an entire season, probably in Toronto. Like there was not a functional NFL place you could play because the UB Stadium could not host an NFL game. So they could that was evaluated. Could they do it? But you could not have turned it around within a season. It would have taken 2 years, and you would have had to have a whole interim season somewhere else.
And also doing it, there was plans for like downtown Niagara Falls, and then obviously it's a right across the street, Orchard Park. That's the best option for it. Doing a Niagara Falls would have been weirder than doing.
I wanted some huge, convocation center, casino, dome stadium downtown, but it's just you would have had to redesign half of the city to be able to fit something downtown or move it way up into Niagara Falls. Like there was just, once you looked at it, a new stadium in Orchard Park next door to the current one. They'll knock that down, put in more parking and set up in team facility buildings. And I will say for all the other pieces that people will give them a hard time they didn't do a dome, it's because they spend $1 bajillion in every other part of it. Like that it is a fantastic investment in all the other things that they've done to build this up and to make it a fantastic modern stadium that's gonna turn out great.
How's the next 30 years plus?
Hard Knocks. You don't have to spend too much time on this, but fun, bad.
Griffin and I were talking pre-show. I think now the newest versions of I've been a Hard Knocks fan from the very first one of the Ravens. I've never missed one. I love watching it every year. The last 5, 8, almost 10 years even, it's much more milquetoast, way more watered down. Teams have way more voice in what's there. It's just like any of those seasons, except it's about my team, so it's awesome. Like I love, like, you just give me slow motion shots of Josh Allen throwing the ball. I'll watch that for an hour straight. Like, I don't need anything else. So the goofy with Ed Oliver riding horses and Zach Davidson. I do think it's kind of funny that they leaned into Zach Davidson, KJ Hamler, and Jimmy Charlo. And like Charlo at least made the practice squad. Hamler and Davidson didn't even make the practice squad. Like, they not only did they not make the roster, they didn't even get brought back in the practice squad. So like this last show is going to be interesting of how they do it. And I tweeted earlier today, I will give up everything, my kingdom, for just one clip of Brandon Beane calling Jerry Jones about Micah Parsons. Just like, show me that he called. Just give me the phone call. Please, Jesus, just give me I want that so badly. So I doubt that we're gonna get that, but God, I would love to just show
Man
me
can
that
hope
he
and
called.
dream.
Just show me that he
Man can
called.
hope and dream.
All right, guys, this has been a lot of fun.
Gentlemen, this has been a great episode. As always, this is the 4th time we've done this in a row. Also, I think this is the longest podcast episode I've ever had. I don't think I've ever done one that's been over 2.5 hours. Hopefully, we can run it back again some point during the season.
Yeah, there's no chance my wife's going to let me do it next year.
Oh, shit. No, she's gonna be like, what the hell are you talking to, Greg? But anyway, guys, for Greg, for Big Rat, I'm Greg. This has been episode number 380 of YWC Football Talk. NFL season is less than a week away. So giddy up. Enjoy, everyone.